Good morning and thank you for joining us. This is Sunrise and I am Alero Edu.
I'm Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome. Let me begin from the technological perspective this morning. Have you heard about that AI called ChatGPT? Okay, don't worry. Oh, you know, young people like us are quite aware of these things.
I think I heard that expression this week.
Good.
I think I heard that expression. So, that's why I was, you know, I didn't just come out and say, no, I've not heard. But it sounds like something I heard this week.
Okay. So if you haven't heard about it,
tell us about it.
I was talking to a friend about charges and said, I'm not going to allow my children to get used to this thing. I said, why is that? It will make them very lazy.
What is it?
Good. So it's an artificial intelligence technology, right? And you could ask it any question, and it'll answer you. It'll give you
Google does
the appropriate. No. This one will write. Okay, for instance, you have a thesis to write, right? You have a question in class. What is geography? Or you know, what is the size of? You know, just all those complex questions that you write. You ask. Google. You know, for Google, you have to still click on a link and go and read it up and all. This one will write it all out for you.
I have a Google appliance in my house. You just ask, you talk to it, and it talks back.
No, this one will write it out, like, you know, the way the producer writes out our scripts?
Write on where? On what?
It will write
on your screen.
Yeah, so if you go to chats.openai.com, you're writing already.
I'm going to try it out when we finish Sunrise.
Chat.openai.com. It'll explain all kinds of things. And so the temptation for you, if you have a thesis, is just to put the question in and it write all the answers for you. God help you if your lecturer is also aware of ChatGPT. Another thing that I found out that it could do...
Well, that makes you cheat, doesn't it?
No, well, you are making the effort to go ask ChatGPT.
No, but you're not thinking.
Okay, well, you leave that one. Okay, so I saw another thesis written by someone else. And this fellow goes, authors, you know, I mean, you have to say, okay, you are the one who wrote this thing. Yes. Authors of this thing, wrote his name. Second author, ChatGPT.
Oh dear.
So
ChatGPT assisted.
Yeah, no, just said, two of us wrote this. I and ChatGPT wrote it all out. So that's it. And then if you need, and this I did at home, I just said, write, create a food menu table with fruits, with food from all different parts of Nigeria. Gave me tabulated.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this chap is worth meeting.
So that's one of the things that, you know, technology can do. But so when we have conversations around technology not doing what it's expected to do for the elections, I'm wondering how we're deploying it. I listened to a conversation with between Sheung, my colleague Sheung or Kimbaloye, and Benga Ison, a tech fellow, says, look, it's not the technology that failed, it's how we, the people, used it. It's the human element that always has a problem. No, of course, that's always it.
No, but the suspicion is that the information was not uploaded for almost 48 hours. You know, and when it was there.
The other conversation around that was someone claims or suspicions that they probably, one of the reasons, because I read that as well, you know, in an interview with someone that said, probably one of the reasons an INEC, for instance, would say, no, we're not going to open this portal for now, we're not going to allow this to go on for now, is because some people were hacking with the intent to put in all kinds of, you know, things under this thing.
Right.
I saw, you know,
Nigerians.
The fellow also said, look, no technology is so foolproof, so no backend is so foolproof that it cannot be hacked. And so that's one of the realities we have to live with as a people. Now it behoves INEC to prove whether or not that is something that happened. I don't even want to go into that conversation about the elections. Some things are already in court, so
anyway,
let's keep it there.
The other elections come up next week, and my major fear is that all the shenanigans that happened 2 weeks ago might affect turnout for the governorship and the state houses next week.
I think the one thing that we can say about that straight away is not coming out to vote is a vote. Let's reiterate that to ourselves. Remember the conversation we had, and at the end of the day, the turnout for this election, with all the noise that we made, wasn't up to 30%.
Well, don't forget that many people already had their votes invalidated by ballot boxes being thrown into gutters, ballot boxes being carted away, people turning up to vote and being told that if they were not from a certain area of Nigeria, they couldn't vote and stuff like that. So people did turn out. It's just that...
if you turned out to vote, and you were accredited to vote, your information is on the BVAS.
Yes.
So if people turned out to vote, I'm not sure if that information of accredited voters is out. Because it's one thing for you to turn out to vote, another thing entirely for you to vote.
Yeah.
So if people turned out to vote and they were accredited to vote, they definitely would vote. Now, whether or not all of those invalidations affected anything significantly, we'll wait for INEC to, confirm to us. But generally, since the 1999, I think the only time we went past the 30% mark was in 2003 elections. Yeah, that was about the only time we, the elections that people really turned out. It wasn't
about 35 million or so.
Yeah, so that was that at the time. So that's something for us. Not turning out to vote is a vote, and we have to recognize that if the decision to recruit people into office in Lagos is just, for instance, let's say it's 3 million and 500,000 people came out to vote, then those 500,000 people are going to be 100% of the people that are going to decide who votes. So if 200,000 people vote more for the winner and 100,000 people voted for the next person, that means 300,000 people came out, and that's just what we're going to have. So if you're saying that we are being governed by the people who you think do not qualify, you are part of the reasons who put them in office.
Exactly.
By
you
not
must
coming
come out and vote.
And another thing that's, of course, you're also aware of, is along the lines of these elections, we've been hearing all kinds of sentiments play too. For God's sake, do you go to the hospital to say, I only want to be treated by a Yoruba doctor or a Canary doctor? Do you do that?
Oh, no. Let me hit it home for you. First of all, our commiserations go to those who lost their lives in that bus train tragedy.
It's horrible.
And social media told us that the hospital was asking for blood. So somebody now posted something and said, well, the hospital asking for blood didn't specify whether I wanted Igbo blood or Hausa blood or Yoruba blood. Blood is blood.
And that is straight up. Look.
I mean, that hit home. It hit home.
I hope it does. For those who are still carrying those primordial sentiments around now.
It's just ridiculous. This is 2023, for God's sake. No, and we're still talking in terms of you can't do this because you are Igbo. You can't do this because you are Yoruba. You can't do this because you are... So what happens to us minority?
That's bad enough. I saw a video of someone, I think it's in Enugu State, saying that one person born in Ebonyi cannot be governor in Enugu. I don't
give me
know
a break,
if
please.
That is
if
it is true and all of that. I just saw one of those videos, and guess what? Some people are gonna go off the tangent with that information.
Yes.
And take that information and make it the gospel upon which they're going to build whatever it is that they're going to build. I was happy that one of my colleagues in the media put out something and said, look, let's leave all these sentiments. Because at the end of the day, the Naira note is either old or new. It's not Kanuri. It's not thief. The money is not Edo. It's not Isha. That money is Nigerian money. It's Naira.
And then show me which market you can go to and you can buy stuff cheaper because you are Igbo.
Or you say, no, I only want...
Or because you are Shekiri.
I only want Yoruba tomato.
Igbo had you.
Come on.
Igbo had you.
Look, I've said this for a long time, even, in my own business thinking. Money, touch the Naira note in your hand. Does it have any feeling? Your ballot paper does not have any feeling. The person you are voting for is a human being.
Full stop.
Your boss in the office. Do you want to say, okay, I will only work in an office that is owned by an Igbo man or a Yoruba man?
Yes.
Or a Thief man or an Ekiti man?
And when you guys go on, you, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, when you go on like this, you are being very unfair to the minorities. And, good Lord, how many? There's about 250 tribes in Nigeria.
More than.
When Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa speak, what do they want the Shekiris, the Urobos, the little people?
And unfortunately, what this thing that you're saying is in every part of Nigeria.
Yeah.
There are those who say that there are minority groups, so to speak, in the north as well.
Yes.
Who also feel the way our southern counterparts are feeling.
Yes.
In fact, there is no region that doesn't have its own minorities.
Youth service, which is the reason why I still praise that program forever. I left Lagos, I think for the first time, apart from Lagos Ibadan for school. I got to Plateau and I was hearing things like Idoma, Tiv, Angas. Angas, what is that? That's also a tribe in Nigeria. Birom. Come on.
Exactly.
And because you live in the south, you don't get to hear of all this. They're all there, all over Nigeria.
So when we go around with these sentiments, I was having a conversation with a friend earlier in the week, and I said that some people, the only Nigeria they know is their local government.
Full stop.
They've never left, never heard of anywhere else.
And don't plan to leave
They
either.
don't plan to leave.
They don't plan to.
So I think we should please carry this information around and let people know that, look, Nigeria, our world is bigger than your mind, and you need to get out of that mind and to see the world in a much larger place. Because at the end of the day, one thing we have to take away is you're useful to someone. Someone is useful to you. If you divide your interests based on those sentiments, it's going to rob you a lot more than you can imagine. So I don't know if I hope that helps.
You're sick and you're only waiting for a doctor from your tribe to come and treat you. Well, good luck.
He's on leave.
Yes. So we're going to start today's program by training our eyes on the state elections which come up next week.
Yeah. It's a very important conversation. We'll have it. And then the incident you mentioned the other time, the train bus collusion, is going to be a part of our conversation in curbing the spate of road mishaps later on in the program today.
Then in our lifestyle segment, we're going to talk about workout habits.
This is important too. You know, you told me that one, that you have to...
yes.
Yeah, so many people don't know that. I really wish, And then we'll be closing with the artist of the week. Yeah, it's one of those, should I call them, minority groups in music.
Minority. Whether minority or majority, we're all Nigerians and we're all musicians.
So, grab your cup of cocoa.
Or cocoa.
Or whichever one you fancy, and let's have this conversation right after this music. Okay, here we go. You know, one of the things that makes this interesting is the topic is eyes on state elections. And since this is television, you literally have to look. So, just say.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So we're looking, and our eyes are trained on next week. Well, it was supposed to have been this week, but you all know what happened. Postponed from this week until next week. And next week we shall all be going out, I hope, to vote for 28 governors and the houses of assembly of those states. To look at this with us this morning, to join us in this conversation, is my pleasure to welcome Joyce Daniels, a social engineering practitioner.
Thank you for having me again.
I'm sure you remember her from the last time she was with us on Sunrise, which is over a year ago now. And
almost a year.
She couldn't make it here, and we had to talk to her in traffic. And you all had all kinds of questions and messages and comments for her. She's here with us live today.
Yay. Thank you.
Morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
And sitting next to her is Mr. Ken Ubeche, publisher, political economist. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Always nice to be here.
Hope you have new Naira notes.
Who does?
Don't you worry.
Just say. Just say. Don't look at me like that.
Must you go there?
He's an economist.
So?
Whatever that means. And then it's political. Come on.
Political.
And then on this side is social commentator, Mr. Gbolahan Olojede. Good morning.
Good morning and nice to be here.
Do you have any new Naira notes on
Oh,
you?
you see?
I'm beginning to forget what the colors look like because I'm not seeing a reasonable number of them.
Okay. All right then. Well, let's.
So why did you go there?
Let's go to the topic at hand, which is next week.
Okay, I understand we have Prof also on Zoom right now.
Oh yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Abdul Ganiyu Raji, former resident electoral commissioner for Osun State. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. And good morning to all Nigeria.
I was thinking maybe I should even start with you, Prof. No, let me start with the general public first. Let me start with the lady. What were your thoughts when you heard about the postponement?
I know so many of my friends who are running for office are tired. They are tired. They've been campaigning for a year.
Wow.
They are spent physically, financially, mentally. So I was like, oh.
They just want to move on.
So I just reached out to a few of them. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. One of them was like, I'm so tired, my God. And then I thought about the people, and I go, oh, would this be a good thing or a bad thing? I said, okay, good for those who would reinforce energy and say, you know what, we're going to come out. Bad for those who would say, hey, you see, they want to. So here and there.
Yeah, but Ken, some would say, one more week for us to campaign. Let's take advantage of that 1 week.
Definitely. I mean, you know, the average politician everywhere in the world is an incurable optimist. They always believe they won or they will win. So giving them 7 more days to campaign, to them is another 7 more days of strategy or re-strategizing and being optimistic.
But I'm not sure that
but
Joyce's friends will agree.
But, you know, this is what I've always anticipated. I have always told my colleagues that the way INEC chairman spoke when the Labour Party went to get that expertise motion for them to examine the beavers and interrogate the process, there was a comment that came from INEC that this may interfere with the next election.
Yeah.
And I thought that was not needful. That is not smart reason. Because you are telling me about a technology called beavers. Even my little phone in the 21st century can store things I have done right now. And I'll store them somewhere in the phone and do more things next week, more other things even next year, and still recall those things I've done before. So any technology that's not smart enough to store what you have done, you have to reconfigure or recalibrate, doesn't look to me as smart technology. And that's why I worry about the beavers. Is it smart enough a technology fit for what we are doing in the 21st century, a technology that cannot store what he has done in a manner that nobody can go there and mutilate it. Because that's the impression they are giving us now, that they have to recalibrate. And if they don't give them that time, they may not be able to hold the next election. These things ought to be anticipated by the electoral body.
But you're also aware that one of the things with phones, for instance, is you can use any phone anywhere. But then there are certain phones you can't use in Nigeria because of the way it's been configured to a specific network from abroad. You're aware of that?
No, definitely. But that's a specific network.
Yes, I know, but perhaps that's because from what information is available to us, thankfully you're a journalist as well, from what information available to us, from INEC, each machine, each of the devices is configured to a specific polling unit.
Yeah.
Now we're having 28 governorship elections, not 36.
Yeah.
28. So there are some that have been deployed to states and would serve in all the polling units for one reason or the other. But now, in some areas, it's not going to happen. Maybe that is the reason I can't speak for INEC.
The word he used was smart enough. Even those networks that cannot be used, we have boys that... we have boys and girls in every state who will unlock
community that can do this.
I don't think we want to engage those boys for beavers.
My point is, it's smart enough.
Is it smart
There
enough?
are people who... Anyway.
I don't think we want to engage those boys for this thing, sincerely. But,
Boys
your
and girls.
thoughts.
Well, I'll take it off from the beavers thing. Beavers did deliver on what it was designed to deliver, which was to be able to accredit a voter. And anybody who voted on the 25th will tell you that beavers delivered. It worked. I don't think the problem we have is a technology problem. I think it's a people problem. Whether you're talking about planning and anticipating something, or you think about the capacity of a server, say, for example. Look at the off-cycle elections. One state, one election. So we had a robust transmission here and there. When you go from one state to 36 plus one state, and you have 3 elections, so 3 multiplied by 36 is the quantum of increase you have brought on that same device or network. It is a people problem if we did not anticipate what would be the impact when you go from 1 election in 1 state to 3 elections in 36 plus 1 state. So it's not the technology that messed us up. Messed up.
I beg to just disagree with you a little bit. The job of the beavers was not just to accredit voters. It was also to transmit
Or transfer.
whichever word you want to use, transfer the information after the election
To a server.
so that you and I in real time
can
be following the results.
Yes.
Okay, the results from my polling unit is already up, and the information there is exactly what we got, what we saw,
what we recorded.
what we recorded while I was there.
I hear you loud and clear. Beavers can transmit. It did transmit.
After 24 hours.
In previous election, it did. In the current election, it did. We must query why those things did not move when they're supposed to move. And I can tell you, I can assure you that it has nothing to do with the capacity of beavers to transmit.
What about situations like some polling units where the agents, not the agents, the INEC staff were saying the password isn't working?
Yes, the
it's
code.
not moving.
Yes.
Network. Is that now people or tech? In my brother's polling unit, for example, they kept the INEC staff there for over 4 hours. They said, you will not leave here until this tech works. The people are here. The people are saying, our hands are good, though. We are pressing. Ogasi, we are pressing. It ain't no they go. So, you see the issue.
At the end of the day,
tech, it's people. It's both.
It's both.
It's both.
Why I say it's both is this. And that's why I use the word anticipation. We have been having off-cycle election. We had Anambra, we had Ekiti, we had Osun. They look good. I mean, on the face of it. Let's say 60% okay or 60 to 70% okay. But you should also anticipate that when you are now transmitting, do you have that capacity, technical capacity, to move that volume of data almost at the same time to that server. Does your server have the redundancy to also absorb those things, that it doesn't crash? Because servers crash. So all those technical issues ought to have been factored by the regulator or the custodian of the electoral process. That's INEC.
Maybe there's another, I don't know what word to use for it. Like, look, back in time, it was ballot snatching. Maybe now it's e-ballot snatching. But let me ask you, Prof, what do you make of all of this conversation? I mean, there are many who will place it on the fact that this issue of transmission of votes from the polling units to an INEC server has questioned the integrity of INEC significantly. How do you respond?
Thank you very much. And I say good morning again to viewers. Well, the issue goes beyond the way we are discussing it. For every problem or for every issue, there are quite a lot of solutions or angles at which we must look at it. There are administrative problems, and there will be technical problems, and several like that, and political issues as well. Well, the beavers was tested since 2020, just like the issue of the server has been on even before the 2015. But one of the things in INEC is that INEC operates by the rule of law, and everything that INEC will have to do must conform with the provisions of the law. It isn't that the beavers doesn't have the capability or the storage capability to handle even the whole election in West Africa. Please take note that all the voters in West Africa combined are not up to the number of voters in Nigeria. The beavers has the capability, but INEC must work within the provisions of the law. So when somebody was talking technically and was saying that it should have capability or capacity to store this and then operate this way and that way, there's a lot of things that we do encounter on the field. For example, the way the beavers work is that after taking the picture of the result, and also even the digital one that is on the beavers will have to be transmitted or transferred, or whichever word we are using, immediately. And whether there is network or no network, it goes onto the cyberspace offline, and whenever the holder of that beavers moves, and then wherever they encounter the network, what has been transmitted would eventually go onto the server. But politically in Nigeria, once that thing is not done at the polling unit, people will not allow that person to leave. Just because they don't understand the workings of the beavers. You might send SMS, and sometimes it will not alert you that it has gone, and you will not be charged. But at the end of the day, after some few minutes, the person at the other end will tell you that he has received. That's the way electronic system works. But sometimes when you explain some things, there are other motives behind it. Well, I'm not absolving INEC completely, because there are people who always have motives. But the system, I believe so much in the commission, I believe so much in this country that we have very good system, we have very good policies, but the implementers may be the problem. And then those that these things are being implemented for would also be a cog in the wheel of the progress of the commission. So that beavers is an Android machine. And then the way we expect an Android machine to work is exactly the way it will work. It can store, but presently, the provisions made is that we will transfer the information onto the server and then now reconfigure for another election. And I think at this stage, when people did not understand what that meant, they should have sought for INEC's clarification. The last time I spoke here, I did mention that, and I was happy that maybe about 1 hour thereafter, INEC made a release. I said, even me, though I'm no more an insider, that at that particular point in time, INEC should make a release. There should be a statement explaining what is going on. And we were so happy that 1 hour after, there was a press release explaining some of the things that are going on. And but not that everything could be explained. And the other person did mention that a lot of things has to be, they have to be investigated before we start talking about, condemning or accepting or doing whatever. There should be explanation from INEC on why some of these things have happened. But I'm sure INEC is doing its investigation. And by the time they will come out with what happened, we'll get to know. Well, as for the password, I can't speak much on that because I was not on the field. But I know the provision, the requirement, and what we do to those that we are training, especially the registration area technicians that we call the RATEC, who handles the beavers, is that, and all the presiding officers as well. Immediately they are being trained. Each of them, once they are issued with the beavers that they will use, right from the registration area camp, the RAC center, the RAC camp on the eve of the election, they will be given the password. So if passwords were not given, where I can comment on that, but I know the provision within the policy of INEC is that the beavers is given and the password is given because you cannot even open the beavers to use for the election if you do not log in onto the beavers. So some of these issues, I'm also confused. I don't really know what is going on. Maybe if one interacts with some of these RATEC and the presiding officers, we will know what actually happened, why the passwords were not working.
Okay,
but I'm sure, I'm a teacher, and I know the kind of educational system that we are running in this country. We have so many universities that are just like secondary school. And that's why one would be surprised sometimes. You see the presiding officer doing simple arithmetic.
Professor, I beg your pardon. We have to manage our time. But you will also agree that in explaining all these systems to us before the election, INEC never mentioned that after the presidential elections that they would need to go and reconfigure. So how come that was never put into the equation and explained to us mere mortals who were going to stand and vote? Come rain, come sunshine.
Well, I will not agree with that because even though, except we replay the speech of the chairman, that is the normal practice, even when we were using the smart card reader. I conducted the 2019 general election in Ogun State. Even when we were using the smart card reader, after the presidential election, we reconfigured for the governorship election. And, we are doing these things in piecemeal. These things are being brought into the Electoral Act and the INEC procedures for elections. So I'm sure it's clearly stated in the Electoral Act and the procedures for election.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you. Let me take it from that and, used to take it to the conversation we are having. Ken, the challenge that we've had over time, in my opinion, has been that of communication. We've had that challenge successively for so many years, it's almost become a norm. And it has greatly, from what I can see, affected and depleted. That lack of communication has greatly depleted public trust in anything government, even if it's local government. So long as you're a government official, your word is not trusted. And it has also affected voter turnout because people are disconnected, so to speak, from anything governance. With our eyes on the state elections, and you're a journalist, what should be the communication and from whom to restore confidence in our processes? Because it's the only process we have. We've chosen democracy and we have chosen INEC as the only system through which our elections can be organized. That's our referee and that's our VAR. What should who be saying and when should that
And
begin?
I beg your pardon, Ken, in responding to that,
Yep.
please also remember that before the presidential election, everyone, or practically everyone, was confident in the system that INEC had explained.
In the technology.
True.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Actually, I think now it's time for INEC to be singing like a parrot, telling us and explaining and even apologizing to Nigerians. Because what happened last Saturday was that it came out to be an anticlimax.
Yes.
The technology that was so drummed
Yes.
and trot out as near perfect, quote unquote. There's no perfect technology anyway. But they gave us so much confidence. In that BVAS, the fact that we got to a level whereby a guideline came out to say that election results will be transmitted real-time online. I hope they know what it means, real-time online, in the real sense of it, in technology space. It means that once it happens, you upload it and anybody can access it. Yeah. That's what we look forward to. And that's what now galvanizes people to come out and vote. Before then, there was voter apathy, for crying out loud. Before then, people don't come out to even register to vote. But now we had a major turnout of people coming to vote, or to register first and foremost, that we had over 94 million voters in the register. And 87 million came to actually collect the PVC. You know, you look, that was a festival that was waiting to happen, a democratic festival that in a manner that we have never seen before. But it turned out to be an anticlimax. Because the people that came out that day, some of them were red light from voting, some were intimidated. This technology that was so hyped didn't work. I don't know what the professor is saying, but this technology didn't work in some places. It couldn't capture some governors. They had to stay on the queue. It couldn't capture that your finger or thumbprint on your face. The governor of Rivers State was there. I mean, it's an example, a living example. There were other instances.
But he eventually voted.
Yeah, he eventually voted. But, you know, it also happened in 2019 where the incumbent that time, 2015, Goodluck Jonathan and the wife had to be on the queue. The card reader could not read them. And they don't recognize the DNA of our president anymore. But what I'm saying is that people should be talking. INEC should be talking and apologize to Nigerians and explain to us what happened and why what happened. Then the political parties, too, must begin to tell the populace to please, yes, it didn't come out the way, it turned out the way we anticipated, but come out and vote. Come out this time. We believe that INEC must have learned their lessons. And then when we speak that language to the electorate, we must also moderate the language we use so that we don't see, the atmosphere is heated up already.
It is.
It's tensile, it's February.
Add to that, please,
Yes.
Before I come to Joyce. It's not just the establishments that should be speaking. The people should be speaking. Let me actually bring that to, you know, there are a lot of, as Ken just mentioned, tempers are high. The emotions are on tethers right now. So caution must be the word. As a social engineering practitioner, what should we be saying to ourselves? You've heard all kinds of things, all kinds of sentiments, all kinds of belief systems in the public space now. That should not be. It's been there, but it seems like this is some kind of unfortunate climax. What should we be saying to ourselves? The media has been crying itself hoarse about what we should be doing, what should we, the people, be saying to ourselves, irrespective of our interests?
We should be saying to ourselves that this is the price to pay. Ask almost any woman who's had a baby, their labor pains, their labor pains, and every man knows about it too. So these are the challenges that come with development. Teething in a baby brings some sort of discomfort. They have to give teething powder and all of that. Growing comes with its discomfort. Pleasure, to eat good food, you have to cook and go through the pain of being in the kitchen. So it's part of what we seek.
Or pay for it in a restaurant.
Or
That's
pay
very
for
expensive.
it, and if you pay a lot, if you find the naira, if you find the money, after buying the money, you buy the food. So it's part of the journey. Nothing worth having really, truly, honestly comes so easy. You want to be a whatever you want to be in life, you will go through a process. So this is part of the process. So we're saying to all ourselves, and the media really helps. There was a video that channels and somebody partnered to deliver before the last elections, where we saw the process of how to vote, how to get accredited. Yeah. You know, that was so helpful.
Yeah.
It went everywhere. People were creating infographics and all of that. Individuals, everyone needs to continue and encourage each other. Parents should be saying to their children, look, that's just what it is. We keep going. We keep going. Spouses, friends, colleagues are saying, you know what? We'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Okay. You don't go away from that
Okay.
yet. Last week, you heard one or two of our guests. Okay, you must have heard about it. One or two of our guests saying, okay, no, it was last week. Was it last week? Where we had Professor, the leadership consultant, saying himself and members of his family didn't have the same political ideology.
Okay.
Akundayo.
Professor Akundayo said he couldn't persuade his children that this is the way they should go, they will consider. And he wasn't the only one. A former SAN, an Attorney General, an SAN and former Attorney General in Oyo State also said the same thing. Himself and his family have completely different political divides.
Divergent.
And one way or the other, it happens on the streets. It happens in the same class. It happened at polling units. If you voted in a particular way that didn't go well with other people, you were attacked. And it happened in every region of the country. What should we be saying to ourselves about that? Because it will happen again. People are going to vote differently.
Peace first. If we are destroyed, then we won't even have any benefits at the end. Peace first. Peace first. Tolerance. Tolerance is when you don't agree with the other person's point of view, but you allow it be.
Exactly.
So right now, we need tolerance more than respect. Because I may not respect your thought. I may be so disappointed by your thinking because it's different from mine, but I should tolerate it. Tolerance right now is one of the most needed skills that we can use to pull through. Tolerance, tolerance for each other.
Well, in light of all the things we saw happen 2 weeks ago, do you think people are going to be eager to come out next week to vote?
It's a dampener, in a way, what happened. So people need to be encouraged to vote. And I think some people are also trying that. I'm within my own network and circle of influence, trying to encourage, because this is more important than the election of the 25th. That road to your house, it's not going to be fixed from
by the president.
Water will come out of your tap. Has nothing to do with the president. The school your children will go to has nothing to do with the president. Whether the drainage around you will cause flooding has nothing to do with the president. So what affects 90% of what affects the day-to-day living of a Nigerian is done at this level of governance. So we cannot afford to ignore what is going on here. I know that elections are largely emotional issues. Sometimes you even engage with people and that candidate you want to vote for, what has he done before? He doesn't know. But he's emotionally attacked for one reason. Reasons as simple as his handsome. It's basic for some people. Yeah, I'm serious.
Right.
He's handsome.
I just like the way he dresses.
It's a largely emotional decision.
I like the way he speaks.
Yes.
But you see, we must also compare it with how you first
I will vote for someone because he's handsome.
Yes. I've heard some people say that as well.
Yes.
But you see, that's
that's what makes us human.
Looks like I'm the only person who has not heard this before.
No, yes,
right. Across the world.
These are the realities.
Even the Bible said, Samuel came to the house of Jesse and they said, oh, this one looks like a king.
Yeah,
we should anoint him.
And that
he's
was it.
tall, he's handsome, he has broad chest. Come on. Not this raggedy little one.
Deceived by the physique of a man.
Yes. And how do we choose spouses anyway? We start from
at least I want to believe that the educated class in Nigeria
incidentally
no.
Even among the educated.
Those sentiments
from
drive
sentiments.
I'm telling you.
It's how we are human beings.
The way the human mind is wired.
It's unfortunate that, the most profitable things in life don't go that way. For instance, you want to get a job. You don't employ the person because he's a good-looking person.
It could happen.
No, it could happen.
Now, from an HR point of view,
Yes.
it could happen.
It depends on the type of job you're doing.
And who is interviewing?
Yes.
Calm down. Wait.
It could happen.
Wait. So I need an accountant.
Okay.
And I will employ one
Who
because he's
is
good looking.
in the engine of the motor car of my business,
Yes.
and the hood is shut. And I will now be looking for a handsome one. In fact,
No,
the
but
uglier the better.
If you're looking for a
It could
marketer.
happen. Even with the accountant, it could happen. Depends on your state of mind. It depends on how important that business. It depends on so many factors.
So if he is not,
it's possible.
if he's not qualified, I will choose him because he is handsome.
It's
That's
a bit
what
more
humans
tricky when it comes to
do.
the private sector. But really, as far as elections is concerned, forget it. It is largely emotional.
Now,
Largely.
to the proper thing, I'm sorry. What are the things, because I always hold the opinion that when we elect people, we're actually employing them.
Correct.
But that perspective doesn't seem to be popular.
It's not popular. That's exactly what I'm saying. And it's part of the campaign. Political parties have left the issues of voter education to INEC. It's as if it is INEC's business to go and do. When in the real sense, they are the beneficiaries of those votes and should be actively engaging the people on the field. Though I've seen some more engagement in
the
recent
last
times.
one week.
This election has
Those were the kind of things that ought to have been happening from way back.
Yeah.
Engage the people. We are too distant from the people we govern.
Look, so, Jerry, I'll go to Prof in a second, but we had a guest last week where he made a proposition, and you may also want to speak to this guy. Said, before we should have a minimum qualification standard for anybody that wants to come into politics for elective posts at all. And he recommended NIPS. That even if all you got was a diploma or a certificate course at NIPS, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, that's the one major thing that should qualify you to be in elective posts.
We could have achieved that in an evolutionary manner. In the U.S. today, there's no prescription of educational standard to become the president of the U.S.
Oh.
So U.S. have had presidents that had no college degree. But over time, in the course of the evolution of democracy in that country, it has almost become standard.
Unsaid.
Unsaid, unwritten.
Unwritten, but
in
expected,
practice.
yes.
So we can also take that because, see, if we pin it down to certificate rather than education, it becomes a problem.
content.
People may have the certificate but might not
no
have the
content.
education.
You don't have the content.
Okay, Prof. So
Especially as we tend to buy certificates.
now, Prof.
What did you want to say?
You've heard conversations around voter education and a number of things that INEC did in the past election, and hoping that would also happen. Now, there is this baggage, so to speak, that INEC has to deal with now concerning the issues that arose from the February 25 elections. And Ken here, Mr. Ogweche, has suggested that, look, INEC should be singing like a parrot. Well, I don't know if a parrot is better than a nightingale. That should be talking more frequently to Nigerians about this election in order to instill confidence. How do you propose that should go?
Well, thank you very much. Speaking, most of the time people always look at me as somebody who is an internal person within the INEC. But I just always want us to be very objective in whatever discussions we are having. Somebody has spoken the other time and said, politics is more of emotion. And as we are maturing, I'm sure the emotional attitude will eventually be fading out, just like the issue of the qualification that has been discussed. It's also almost fading out in the United States. Don't forget, they are over 150 years old. We are not yet 70. As far as the voter education is concerned, I quite agree with the fact that the politicians, they have to take up this issue of voter education. INEC, the whole voter education issue has been left with INEC, and there's a limit to which INEC can actually do that. the politicians can reach the grassroots. INEC is also involved in education of the politicians extensively, honestly. But because of the level at which we are in our political engagement now, well, once there is a mindset or somebody has a target and he wants to get to that target, meet the target by whatever means, sometimes some things may not eventually sink. But my own take is that we should rather be supporting our policies rather than bringing those policies down. So I agree totally that we should push this issue of voter education to the politicians. But at the same time, do they really know what to tell people other than vote for us? So these are issues that we should look into. But INEC has a very, very robust policy and system on voter education.
But what would you say some of those issues are, Prof, that because it sounds, some would take it that right now you're absolving INEC of any responsibility in terms of voter education. But what are the things that people should be expecting from INEC? And add to that what you also just finished saying now about education, voter education from the perspective of political parties. What should the political parties themselves be saying?
Well, I'm not absolving INEC because the other time I did mention that within INEC, the implementation, we may also find issues with the implementation. Because when you talk of INEC, INEC is a commission. When you talk of the people within the INEC, that is another issue entirely. They are Nigerians. Just like politicians are also Nigerians. But I believe that there should be a kind of cooperation between INEC, looking at the policies of INEC on voter education. There should be a kind of cooperation between INEC and the politicians, because the politicians can actually reach the grassroots better than INEC. Politicians are existing in every corner of this country, whereas INEC will have, specified ways of doing the voter education, a systemic one, which may not necessarily get to the grassroots fully. So that is why I'm advocating that there should be, this voter education issue. While I was in INEC, this is what we always tell the politicians, that they should be seriously engaged in this voter education issue. Sometimes we invite them even when we want to do the voter education exercises, and sometimes they will not even come. They will not even come. So, but as a Nigerian, I'm also worried, because when somebody doesn't even know his or her right, or what are expected of him, how do you expect such a person to even behave well? So these are the issues that we need to face in this country. Why a lot of people don't even know what is going on. Then we also, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not taking time. We also mentioned the issue of the elites. Well, as a researcher, I did something outside, I went outside the box and then investigated the middle class, the elites, and then the lower class. We found out that it is the elites that are actually not participating in the electioneering processes. I have my data, I have my information. It's there. So, but they make the largest number. That's what's going on.
Okay.
But the lower class are not even enlightened at all.
Those who are enlightened don't take part. Those who are not enlightened are the ones
Those who
that
are not enlightened
are
actually the ones taking part.
I think
that
is also evolving. And like he asked, what's one of the challenges that we have to this communication? Power distance is a challenge in any country where power distance is rife. That is where subordinates, as it were, cannot speak to power.
Yeah.
It starts from home. At a certain age of parents right now in Nigeria, Mommy and Daddy, I know you might be watching. Sorry, let me just say, I couldn't question my parents. If I had said, Mommy says do this, and I say, why? Why?
Our generation couldn't.
Yeah. So my son, my first son is going to be 21 this year. I better explain it to him. else he's not moving. Mommy, why? And he would give me reason why this, that, and the other. And he said, but you told me that if I'm not clear, I should ask. Now we will have that conversation. So it's a challenge with some of the ages of people who are contesting and have been contesting over time. And it's changing. Even when you see the younger people who are running for office, the amount of information they put out is different because that's our generation of wanting to have conversation. We want to be clear. It's not trying to be rude. So some people who are running for office now would say, I beg, what am I telling them for? It's power distance. They're not necessarily trying to withhold information, but it's how they've operated. What's the age of the person in charge of INEC right now? He belongs to that age of people who might, as an individual, feel, what's the issue?
That's not to say that his PA and all of that are not young people.
Exactly. But those are the issues that we have. They are real.
Joyce,
the PA may want to speak, but say, let me not speak until Oga, you know.
Joyce, you know,
it's for us to acknowledge.
We discussed dealing with teens in our lifestyle segment, and we actually ended up apologizing to young people. Say, okay, sorry, we tell you to shut up, but we now understand that we're supposed to actually discuss with you. We appreciate that, and we have accepted it. It's a different generation altogether, so we're with you
and
on
it's
that
tough.
one.
It's tough.
Yes. Let me go to Ken now. Ken, the issue of vote buying was a big issue before the presidential elections. In fact, so much so that the CBN gave vote buying as an excuse for changing the money, which we're all still suffering for. But since that election, how much have you heard about vote buying? It seemed there wasn't too much of vote buying.
Well, you can't say there wasn't too much because vote buying is not something somebody comes to the marketplace to do. It's discreetly
Nobody's
done.
talking about it.
No, it's discreetly done. So they may have bought some votes. It's about strategy. What strategy did they use?
I've not asked my question yet.
No.
I've not asked my question.
Ask your question so that I can take
My
over the
question is, next week, are we expecting that kind of behavior at the polling units or wherever?
You know what happened this time, and actually from the off-cycle elections in Oshu Ekiti, that there was this deployment of plain-clothed security operatives. And EFCC chairman has been drumming it, that we are all over the place. You may not see us. But you know, it's also part of the things to raise that consciousness that you can be arrested for buying or for selling. And we saw what happened in Rivers on the eve of the election, that a sitting House of Rep member was caught with some dollar.
Yes.
So vote buying may have been in a different currency and a different style, and you may not know. It was caught around past 2 a.m. So that could have been the time they bought the votes.
But it was reduced.
Yes. No, it was reduced, but then what I'm saying is it's not, it may not be reduced. It may not be as primitive as it used to be. It is now scientific. It's now
the reason I say reduced, let me speak for my polling unit. This was the first time I voted in the polling unit where I voted this time. And I interacted with some people who said they've been voting here since 1999, forever. Yeah. This was the first time they neither saw nor were offered. They weren't even offered nor received monies. One, there was no money.
Yeah.
There was no money. Even people who wanted to could not. Many people were trapped. Yet, she, the first woman who said it to me, and she's at least in her 60s, she said, yes, we have more people out here than ever before. So it means we will actually vote even when there is no money given.
Yeah.
It was reduced, and I was very intentional about asking certain people in certain polling units. I was intentional about that because I know some units where this has been, and they don't see, okay, they didn't see money from anybody. Now there were some stories at some places, some monies were transferred here and there, but there was no network for the money to land. It was reduced, it was more systemic, more... Less primitive, more organized,
sophisticated.
More sophisticated
but
is the word.
Reduced across
sophisticated.
board.
Yes. But is that to say then? Because I mean, you both have discussed that. But is that to say then that a consciousness has been sparked?
Definitely.
Yes.
About the responsibility or the duty of the Nigerian citizen.
The electorate.
To a certain extent.
One, how do we sustain that consciousness?
Well, I think to a certain extent, like I said, the consciousness is there. But that is not to say that if you leave that window open, that politicians will not do it.
Exploit it.
So there are factors like she mentioned, the fact that the cash was not even there. You want to talk about dollars? Dollars is difficult to distribute. How much is $10? It's a whole lot of money.
A lot.
It was different from a situation in which people were carrying bags of money around in some of the off-cycle elections and giving to voters 5,000, 4,000. You know, it's a totally different game. However, since we have arrived at this junction and we know that it is possible for voters to still come out, in fact, for voters to even reject inducement, we saw that in one of the off-cycle elections, I think that was Oshun, then we can use awareness to continue to drive that and sustain it. It's all part of the voter education that we're talking about. If you give you 5,000, it is 4 naira per day for the next 4 years, all those kind of message. Continue to drum it.
Yeah.
National Orientation Agency is not really there any longer. But
We are all now national.
we're now, yes.
We are.
So all of us
Individual
within our own
We're doing
circles of
orientation.
IOA, individual orientation agency.
But that also raises a question
COA.
that also raises a question of around the people that will be voted for. I don't know how many of you caught that. Let me ask you, Ken. I don't know how many of you caught that. But there was a time when, perhaps it's a good time to even begin to wrap up because we are running out of time. I heard some people say, this person that won, we didn't really know him. So we don't know the people we are recruiting to do a job. So how do people interrogate the person whom they want to give a particular job? That's the reason I was asking around, qualification or lack of it the other time. Because if you don't know the person you want to give a job to, that means even you yourself don't know the job or job description that you want to give to this fellow.
Job description. And one thing, a prof was trying to dismiss it, and I think I disagree with him. He said something that is emotional. Issues of election in this part of the world for now, and even everywhere. It's about interest. Interest is driven by emotion. Interest and emotion are inseparable anyway. So voting for somebody you didn't even know happened in many places in the last election. People profited for just being part of a political party that had a wave, national wave. And I give an instance here. My own representative in the House of Rep, Ndodi Elumelu, a big name in Nigerian politics, could not go there again. A non-starter, one Okoli, who nobody knew, just because he belonged to Labour. And in Delta, they said it's all Labour. Let us even Labour in vain. They don't care. No, that's the emotion. What I'm saying is that, why am I saying that? The disenchantment, it tells you about dismay, disenchantment, and distrust. These things are eating deep into the people.
You are starting this conversation on another tangent altogether because you have only 1 minute. Yes. Because we are wrapping up now.
I'm just concluding. Let me land now. Let me just land. So I'm just saying that these things are driven by emotion. And what you said now about what should they be looking at, they don't want to care anymore. They just want to change the whole order. Whether they land in the deepest part of the sea or not is immaterial to them now.
Okay.
And it's dangerous anyway, but that is the reality we have.
Okay.
Yes.
The responsibility is on those of us who do believe in qualification and all to organize. This time more than ever, we saw more organizations put together debates and conversations for aspirants and candidates to sit. So we continue it. Okay. We plan for it, we finance it, and then we make it happen.
Mr. Lojede.
This is the most important election.
Yes.
The local government, nothing much is happening there. Abuja is too distant. So the states are what impact us the most in our daily lives. And we should not let it pass us by.
Incidentally, no one has spoken about the House of Assembly elections. Don't even go there. Prof.
It's part of the state.
It's a department of the state.
Prof, I see that you've been chuckling and following the conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think I agree with all of them. This election is very, very important. It's like we are coming back to the grassroots, and we have to be very, very, very careful. Somebody said the other time, the president will not come and give you water because that's the prerogative of the state. And those are some of the things that we need most. So we should be very, very careful. We should not let our emotion push us to wherever that will not pay us because of personal interest. I think we should think more of the communal interest than personal interest.
Okay. Professor Abdulgani Raji, former resident electoral commissioner of Osun State. And we had in the studio with us Joyce Daniel, social engineering practitioner, ladies first. And we had also a social commentator, Mr. Gbolahan Olojede, as well as Mr. Ken Ubechi, publisher, political economist. So the message, of course, is as follows. Never mind what happened 2 weeks ago. I will apologize on behalf of Nigeria. We are very, very sorry.
Yes,
but please come out next week and vote. This is more important to your life than the presidential election. Abuja is far away from where you are. The president doesn't care whether you have water in your house or whether your street is tarred. He lives in Abuja. This is the person who is going to look after that water that you need in your house, that road that you need to your house. All those are taken care of at the local level. So please come out and vote massively next week, wherever you are in this space called Nigeria.
And if you think that your state government headquarters is too far from you, you're right. But it's not as far as Abuja. Just take that home.
We'll be back with another conversation in just a moment. Stay with us.
Good afternoon, Oga. Now you be the landlord.
Yes, Nami.
Oga landlord, me go need one room for this your house, so.
Okay, sure you get work where you do.
Yes, I be nurse.
You know go they owe me be that now.
Now how much be your rent, safe?
Not just 90,000 naira. Wait, this guy, where you come from, Seth?
Oga, I come from Akamata.
Akamata? No talk am again. My spirit and Akamata people no they ever join.
Oga, wetin happen now?
Come over my compound. Na so baba thing na people sabi do for that Akamata. Come over here.
Haba, Papa, wetin this innocent girl do you now? Now people like you, they spoil Nigeria, Papa.
I think you don't see am now. My people, they talk, say jollof rice, we dey for bottom pot today. Go dey top of cooler tomorrow. As I take need you now, so you self need me. Because now one mama we get, we be Nigeria. Make we love ourselves. Because now only together we go fit to make our country better for us and our children them. One heart plus one love equals better Nigeria. Now the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government, they bring in this message.
What is really happening in Akamata market? It seems these people don't want the election to hold.
I hope you broadcast it. The world must hear.
No. Is that how you people share sensitive news like that without verifying it? If I may ask, which news platform published the news?
Jojo sent it.
Jojo? Is that not the same Jojo that posted a fake election result the last time that almost caused a riot?
You know they forget something.
No. In this election season and after, one must be very careful. Or do you want to set the country on fire?
Haba.
Fake news is a threat to a free and fair election and to peace and security. So, before you share any news, check to be sure the source is credible. Check if there are supporting credible sources. Read beyond the headlines. Check the author. Check the date. Check your biases. Ask an expert or send to a fact-checking organization for confirmation. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
This our landlord and his wife happy fight for Africa, Sha. Chai. No mind the man. With that in nose like our Market Square Junction.
He would. Una don't start this now gossiping again, Abi. Okay. Una met the Akamata Community Square. They sell their votes to politicians for cool 5K. Una sit down here, the mumu una self. It's all right.
Omo, make we self go collect our own cash. Collect waiting. God forbid. So you want to sell the next 4 years of your life for 5K, Abi? Well done. You sabi say this 5K now 4 naira per day for the next 4 years. Make una get sense now. Haba.
Na nonsense una dey talk. Make month end reach, make una no pay me my rent. Na that time una go see fire. Make una no dey listen to people like this landlord o. Election no be business. Na your civic duty to your country to help elect the correct leaders dem. We go fit create better life for us and no go get future for our children. Make you no sell your vote. Cause if you sell your vote, na your future you don sell be that. This message now from the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the MacArthur Foundation.
I know sometimes it be like saying nobody sent you. That's what I care for you, my friend. I didn't know vex for me. Say I never go you since, but I hope that you are well. I hope your market sell. Every day I dey pray for you. Make you ever God bless you. I never forget you. I gon' forget you. See my shoulder, make you rest up on me. You know I got you. Let me be your friend in need. The money don't show now. I don't keep some for you. You know go so far. Cause anything I get now for me and you, yeah. How are you, my friend? How do you do, my friend? I know sometimes it feel like say nobody sent you. That's when I take for you, my friend. Oremi atata, you always stay in my mind. Adi me gone, gone, gone. I cherish you with my life. Don't worry yourself, oh. Everything go day alright. And if anybody try you, those gon' be on sight. See my shoulder, make you rest up on me. You know I got you. Let me be your friend indeed. Money don't show now. I don't keep some for you. You know go so far.
Well, thank you so much for remaining with us. We started this morning, part of the things that we say in the opening was to apologize, or rather, condole with those who suffered injuries or even lost lives when that train and bus collided in Lagos in the course of the week. We've also been told that there are a number of such, one other incidents like that happened in the course of the week. Well, that's part of our conversation this morning because it's rather sad that the regular spate of automobile accidents or crashes, as the professionals call it, on Nigerian roads and resultant avoidable loss of precious lives should be a matter of concern to all. It is a matter of concern to us, concerning enough for us to have a discussion on it this morning. The institution charged with providing welfare and security for citizens, which is governments, at all levels, should be seen to take the phenomenon very, very seriously. How seriously that has been done, I guess we'll have that conversation this morning. Lagos to Oyo, Enugu to Sokoto, the spate of road crashes or road accidents, whichever one you choose, is alarming. Even more alarming is the attitude towards road safety. Let's have this conversation this morning with Dr. Kali Okwefa, who is Executive Director, Center for Sustainable Mobility and Access Development. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
We also have with us Mr. Adenosi Patrick, who is a road safety expert. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning.
Well, let me begin with you, Dr. Okwefa, because one of the issues that brought us here, I mean, which you have also responded to one way or the other, is the collusion that happened in Lagos. There are those who are wondering what was missing. What was the gap that made that to happen in the first place? We understand that the driver took off after the accident. So What was the gap that made that happen, that should have been blocked?
Yeah, let me join you and join the all those people who have commiserated with the people of Lagos, Nigeria, and Lagos State Public Service in commiserating with what happened. And then also to say that this period is a tough one when you consider that we have about 6 fatalities to start picking holes or faults. On general TV. However, we still have to discuss the issue. And also to note that there is an investigation set up by I understand the state government as a preliminary one. Then the national government had also progressed from where we were some few months ago. Now we have a National Safety Management Board also. That is the former AIB. Yeah. So I think that's one of the recommendations some of us have been calling for in the transportation sector, that a national body. And also to say that there are a lot of eyewitness statements which all of us are basing our assumptions on. For me as a professional, I visited the site yesterday, not as if I don't know the place. I just decided to see and then talk to people in the area, and I note one thing. Anytime I get to that level crossing, based on what we learn in the driving instructions, I completely stop. The first rule at every ray crossing, if you take your driving instruction book, if you go for that written test, even the one we do here in Lagos, is there when you get to driving course. So I went to look for things around, and I spoke to people, eyewitnesses, and I don't want to jump on what has been, but the eyewitness opinion is already in the public domain that there was a level crossing gatekeeper who stops people. People stopped, and somebody tried to overtake all others, and there was a collision, and the incidents became an accident, and there were fatality. So many things from there will have been missing. One will think of, why will that person have jumped? This person is not a first-time user. He's probably using that route on many occasions. So the things me and Mr. Patu will be looking for, whether they are there, will no longer be of importance, because you will assume this man knows the, I use the word assume, he knows the terrain, and at the time the man passes the place, probably is the time the train also passes. So the man must have experienced train coming at one point or the other, or at the time he goes home too, is the time the train also moves around 4 p.m. So he must have experienced train coming. So we now want to, if what could have happened, then also unusual, you also have a traffic management people at that point. So that means it is envisaged that that place needs additional resources. So they put human resource at that point. I also noticed I saw a police vehicle. I inquired, they said police also normally stays around because that area is a construction zone and is also whatever. And the other thing also that is noticed, and there are so many crosses, I noticed about 9 or 7 to 9 places vehicles can go. So it's not a place you speed. So if somebody crosses that rail and thinks you can push speed, you can't. I pass through that place whenever I'm going from Ikeja to Agege. You have to slow down, even if there is nobody in that area. Because it's steep. It's steep, and then it goes down. It's not that high before. It became higher. And
the tracks. You can't speed over the tracks.
You can't slow down. So if you attempt to beat a train in that place, you might be caught out of fear.
Difficult.
I normally, when I stop, I tell my driver, stop. Show me didn't see anything. When we get to the track, I will tell you fast. Even though you say fast, you can't move fast because you have to. And you know, luckily, somehow again, that place used to be a rough ground, but it has been improved.
Okay.
Asphalt has been put on that place to reduce the traffic.
Essentially, you're saying,
so many things could be seen.
You are essentially saying that on the part of government, significant, maybe not sufficient, but significant interventions have been put in place.
Okay. Over time.
Well, Mr. Adenusi, the update I have now is that the driver has surrendered himself to the police, and investigation and all of that is going on. But given what Dr. Okwefa has already said, I know you may want to add a thing or two to that, but what do you think happened? It's not like, as he said, it's a state government bus, and it's a government vehicle that he's driving, and there are state government officials on the bus. What could have happened, in your own opinion, that could have caused that could have been avoided?
Well, the art of driving in Nigeria is abused by a set of people. And the first among the list are government officials, ranging from the military, the paramilitary, the federal government drivers, state government, local government. They don't follow traffic rules. They don't obey it. So that happened is not anything strange to me, that a government driver refused to stop when he ought to stop. But in 2023, that we can have a human being there as a flagger, but that in 2023, that Nigeria as a country puts a human being there to flag the train is not only shameful, it's primitive. There should be stop signs there. Put a stop sign, put the railway crossing flashing lights. Now, if all of those things are there, could the driver still do that? Yeah, we might say yes, and we could also say no. Now, is that he saw a human being who is holding a stick with a red flag and is waving him to stop. And as far as it's concerned, because lawlessness is part of our daily life on our roads in Nigeria, it's not peculiar to Lagos. Anyone that is doing the right thing is the one that is seen as foolish. So he wanted to be smart. Unfortunately, his supposed smartness has injured people and also killed innocent, unsuspecting people who were supposed to be moved from point A to point B. So it's a regular thing for government drivers not to obey rules.
Well, we'll talk to the general. Okay.
Mr. Adenusi, I chuckled when you spoke about the railway flashing lights or traffic lights or whatever else you want to put there to alert people that there is a train crossing. Because you opened by saying that government drivers don't, as a rule, obey any rules. So even if those lights were there flashing, do you think that this man would have stopped?
Yeah.
Because he sees himself as, I'm a government driver, I'm above the law, so I'm not going to obey this red light.
Yeah, I would say 80% he will stop. Because you see the light. Okay, let's even take a look, an example of it is raining. With the flagger standing in the rain and be flagging. So, but when you see the flashing light, it's flashing red. That's even telling you danger is across your path. So common sense will still send a message home. The most uneducated human being that cannot spell, or you put alphabet A before, who cannot call it A or R, if you show the person a red cloth or red material and say, what does this stand for? They will tell you danger.
Yeah.
So, and now you now see two flashing lights telling you that there is danger ahead of you. So the likelihood of him stopping is higher.
But in those days, there was an arm.
A barrier.
Yes.
That's what I was asking.
That would come down, and then some bells would ring.
Correct.
Do those still exist?
They are on vacation here.
Oh, okay.
So essentially you are saying you're disagreeing with Dr. Okwefa when you say that the things that government needs to do has been fully done.
Unfortunately, government has not done as much as what they should do. Let's move from the rail. I mean, look, the rail is on the land. the road where the driver came from before he got to that point. They have poor signages. There are no road markings. There are no speed limits. There's no stop sign. And so all of us, anyone that is driving on Nigerian road in the night is driving blind because you don't even know the lane where you belong. Yeah. So we are used. I see people cross the road in Lekki and they are arrested for running across under the pedestrian bridge in Lekki Phase 1. So sometimes, curiously, I'll just stop and ask, where do you live? He said he lives in Dokwem. From when the child when he was conceived, the mother was dashing across the road. There is no pedestrian bridge in Dokwem. He has never seen anyone around that area. And so now he grew up there. He's still living there. He comes to Lekki. You think the natural state in him is that he should dash across the road. So he's crossing right under the pedestrian bridge.
So it's one thing to have... He doesn't know what
the pedestrian bridge is for.
Just he thinks it's cosmetics.
Decoration.
That's
so
right.
It's one thing to have the infrastructure. It's another thing for people to be educated enough to use them.
Absolutely. And is it commercial drivers? Because that's what that driver falls into. Commercial drivers, the rigor they go through before they get the driver's license outside Nigeria, especially in the West, is not the same here. So their exposure is higher. And that is not to say that train accidents don't happen abroad. It does happen. It happens a lot. Much more than we have here, though. You know, my brother can attest to it. Over 2,000 train accidents happens in America. So let's not think that, oh, it's just a Nigerian thing. Yes. Let's not think, oh, this one is just a Nigerian. It does happen. You know, but 9.5 out of 10, they are avoidable.
Dr. Kwefa, the issue of traffic lights, the government at all levels, or both levels, they've spent a lot of money putting up traffic lights. And it really hurts me, pains me in my heart when I see mainly commercial drivers not obeying traffic lights. My light goes from red to amber to green for me to go. I'm about to pull out, and you, yellow downfall, you are racing across, and another one behind you, and another one behind him, and your light says red. If I was a careless driver and I just obeyed the light, collision at that junction, plain simple. And at the speed they are traveling, it could be fatal. But policemen are there, last mile officials are there, and they watch them do this thing. It's like, to me, my interpretation is they are fed up. It's like, how many are we going to arrest?
Thank you. I think, once again, let me say this. Accident is an unfortunate one. Is it avoidable? Yes. And it speaks to what you have just said. I'm not saying that everything that needed to be done has been done. What I said earlier is that what else could have prompted somebody who passes through a regular route with LASMA, with gatekeeper, with everybody shouting, and the person still prepares to come. It speaks to what you just said. Now, we are talking of automated, different modes of deterring people from committing this kind of infraction. But now you have a traffic light, and some people are still disobeying. He's not even showing red, he's showing yellow, green, red, enough to make you mesmerized. So that is to let us understand what safety is when it comes to transportation. There are those people who are pathological about safety. They say, who cares? There are those who believe, hey, if it doesn't happen, and if it happens, it will be corrected. But there are those people who say they are proactive, they put up all the measures, and they think it will not happen. But generally, for transport sector, safety should be seen as general. Everybody should own it. So if I own the safety and you don't own it, you put me in danger. That's what happened to the people inside the bus, and also the train driver, the bus driver, and people in that area. Somebody just dropped the ball, and for that person to drop the ball. So that's why safety should not be seen as just putting up those things. It should be seen as a system. And anytime there is a failure of that system, it calls for a review. That's the approach I'm taking on this matter, because we have people who lost their life, and some people are still in the hospital. The point I think that should compel us, whether it is road, whether it is rail, whether it is air, sometimes they will just tell you in the aircraft that due to operational reasons, your flight had been delayed. Then we all start screaming. Then sometimes you peep through the glass, you see the particular aircraft you are supposed to take. Some people are walking on the wings, and you are angry. All you just want to do is to travel and get out. But some people have told you, and that's where the air safety is still, the policies around air safety is still about the best in the whole transport system, because once we are in the air, there is no more who is going to save me. So I think in this issue, we still need to do more. Every incident is an opportunity to appraise what happened and improve the system.
Speak to what Mr. Adonis Patrick said the other time about government officials who do not obey government signs. Bus drivers of government officials, including security personnel, and ambulance drivers, empty ambulances, and then they are racing across. What's there to say to those ones?
Okay. I will start by saying, sometimes in November, the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration held the National Transport Summit, and the theme was on transportation safety. And I presented a paper on the rail sector, and all these issues you mentioned came out from all the different modes. Now, in 2007, April, Lagos State government enacted a law on the Driver Institute. That was one of the main reasons, just to sanitize the commercial. If you go to UK, Europe, America, you drive yourself. But in this part of where we live, we have a driver. Now, many of us don't even care about who the driver is. And a lot of them starts not by learning how to drive, but they learn how to drive on the steering. That law proposes that if you are doing driving as a profession, that is as a means of livelihood, you must go to the Lagos State Driver Institute for, I think it's 1 day in 1 year. And a lot of us have drivers, and our drivers are not certified for that job. If you want to drive the aeroplane, you get certified. You want to drive the train, you get certified. For you to do some jobs, you get certified. To be an accountant, you get certified. The same thing goes for driving, because you are moving people more than yourself and not your family members. So you have to be certified. That's the first part of the thing that has been done that I know in Lagos. And I know when I was when I was in Lagos, we ensure that all drivers in the government service go through the institute, and my drivers go through the institute. I make sure they go, because when they drive me, I'm scared also. But I'm only confident when I drive myself. And the reason why I can't drive myself most often time is that I'm always looking at things that are going wrong or not. So the first thing we need to understand is not peculiar to government drivers. It's all of us. Safety should be seen as general. If we start limiting it to...
No, I agree with you, but perhaps the point he's making...
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, perhaps the point he's making is that if these are government officials and these are government rules on the streets, they should be the signposts of it. Like, okay, this is the way I'm supposed... This is something that government has done, and I'm a government official. I should obey the law so that people will take a cue from
I think that's it. They should even obey the law much more than... They should be seen to be an example to others. But the point I'm making is we should not zero down to government. You only use it as example, because in this instance, the truth of the matter is most corporate is common among our corporate drivers. And it is also our own concern. When you hired your driver, have you ever bothered to ask where the guy ever drove before coming to you. I discovered many of them started with public downfall or kurupi. That was not kurupi then. Public downfall driving. Go and check it. Just take sample of the drivers in your that you know are corporate, and they keep changing. So we all have to show concern about who drives us. I'm talking about driving now, because if you don't do that, they will drive your kids, your family members when they are not there, and they will do things that are not supposed to be done.
But, you know, how do we do that with commercial buses? I'm sorry, I'm coming back to you, Mr. Patrick. How do you do that with commercial bus drivers? I mean, I'm at the bus stop, I just boarded this bus. I can't be asking.
What we should do, I started in Lagos, and it should be made national. The national, I think FRC also believes in that, is that everybody who wants to operate commercial driving, that is driving me or driving anti-alero, must go to a driver institute on a yearly basis, or renew your certification. I mean, your competence level. Once we all adopt that, we are, the same thing in aviation, the same thing.
Is the institute still there?
It's still there, and they've even increased in number. The last time they told me they are now about 8 in different parts of the world. It's a simple thing. Go there, whatever is the situation. You know, the fact that you sit in a place out of work for one day is enough to humble you and to listen to those errors you commit. People, when we ordered the automatic brake testing machine, I went to Pennsylvania for the pre-shipment inspection. Believe me, I failed the test. It was on the 3rd time that I was able to brake properly. I thought I would pass. They said, you know, I tested, failed. I said, me fail, failed, 2nd time. And the 3rd time, I passed. So that made me to understand that. So my braking capability skill is not that good enough. I give you another example. When I did my road driving test in the US, the written test, maybe they expect me to spend 10 minutes. I did everything in 3 minutes. I'm a Nigerian. Then when they now got me to the road test, and the guy, I thought I passed. The guy told me I failed. I said, what happened? He said, did I notice at the stop sign that I didn't stop well? I said, I stopped. That I didn't see anything. He said there was a dog passing by. I'm telling you my own particular story. And I know many Nigerians who have driven for many years. When they go for a road test in the US, they seldom fail the road test the first time, because we take so many things. But if you look at the written test we were examined on, those things were clearly stated.
Okay. Well,
so it is something that we have to, you know, this incident is a wake-up call for the Nigerian railway system.
My apologies,
for
Doctor.
the road system.
We've been having these wake-up systems. I'm not sure how long.
But we have never woken up.
It'll take us to wake up, because we've heard about this railway tracks. I mean, whatever it is, the vehicles getting off the rail, you know, for some time. Trucks falling on their sides and all those things. I don't know how long it's going to take us to
trucks
wake up.
And containers falling off trucks.
Exactly. Now, Mr. Patrick, you of course, I'm sure you want to respond to a thing or two, but speak to the expertise that he spoke about for all levels of drivers. Personal drivers, I mean, you driving yourself, you having a personal driver, corporate drivers, government drivers, you name it. I don't even know how to put that question, because I'm not sure how many people who drive themselves today went to any driving school. And there are no minimum qualification standards for you to drive your own car. Yet we have these issues all over the place. Where do we go from there?
Mr. Dennis, I remember in those days when you drove yourself and you had an accident, retort from people around, I go drive myself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, driving is a communication between the road and the driver. But what we have here beginning is the fact that we have drivers that the roads are not communicating to. So the driver then begins to do what they think is right. In the real sense, the driver ought to be told what he can do per time. That's a major standard normal rules in driving.
That's on the roads.
On the roads.
The road should tell you what to do.
The road speaks to you. There's a communication. It tells you what you can do and what you cannot do. But unfortunately, our roads are dumb. They don't talk. And so that then puts it that when you look at the Nigerian Highway Code, you see all of those road signs there. The ones that even read it, when they now get to the physical road itself, the signs are not there. So they are confused. So the starting point will be that every driver, whether you've driven for 20, 30, 40 years, or you are just about to start the art of driving, should have easy access to the Nigerian Highway Code. So FRSC should be able to liaise with Channels TV, any radio station, other government agencies, to have a link on your website wherein anyone can just click and download that document for their personal development. Because we're at a crisis point.
Mr. Adenusi, are you insinuating that all those commercial bus drivers on the road actually have read the highway code and know the meaning of the contents of that?
Well, some of them have not. They have seen the highway code, but they have not read.
But when they are tested before they are given commercial bus drivers' licenses, is the highway code not one of the things they are tested on?
Ideally, it should. Okay, is it everything, all signs, they have the letter and they have the graphics. When you see a P and a line runs across, it means no parking. So, but to illiterate,
yes,
you will find some that says NOPARKING.
Yes.
So for the literate, that tells you no parking. For the illiterate who cannot read, the sign tells them this is what this sign means, and they understand it. So they can be taught through the graphics, and so they know. But that has to happen when they come into the Lagos State Drivers Institute that Lagos State government set up some few years back.
Starting from Oshodi.
Yes. So, and I think they had 6 centers then. The initial stuff was that every driver in Lagos should go through.
My driver attended.
The Drivers Institute.
I think at that time it was 2,000.
Started as 500.
No, it was 8,000 naira. The value is about 20,000 naira, but the state government said 1,000. Now, my suggestion to them then, including him who refused to agree, was that all drivers, including you and I, should go. Because 98% of people who drive on Nigerian road are not drivers. We just move the vehicles. For example, look, when you go outside Nigeria, the number one reason why most people who relocate fail exam is they see the signs, they can't interpret them. So when you get to a stop sign, the sign is not saying anything other than stop. So you get there, you stop.
Whether there's any car approaching or not, or in sight, you stop.
You just get there and you stop. But we see the stop sign here. Did nobody stop? So
many people actually think that the yellow sign is stop, run before run before it turns red.
So we have that issue in our hands. So I've suggested that FRSC should make the highway code available to all. From here right now, if you go online, you can download all the highway codes of different states in the US. So why are we still selling ours? Put it out free. Let's give all motorists 6 months. That look, download this. where in 6 months' time, and within the 6 month spaces, all state government begins to put signs on their road, put road markings, and so we have given the road a facelift. It can now communicate with the driver. Until we do that, all of us will be guessing. The crisis will continue, and it's increasing on a daily basis. Let me shock you. The national fatality figure that Nigeria submits to WHO is 5,045 people dying on our road annually. WHO's record of Nigeria, which they collate themselves through the various general hospitals and police, is 39,802 are killed on Nigerian roads annually. That's on the average about 115 people are killed daily on our roads. Ouch. And we are still not concerned.
Well, Dr. Pefa, I really don't envy you, because you really had to. I mean, you've been in the saddle, so you know the challenges firsthand. In fact, I'm almost certain that that's why you decided to take this as a personal course, you know, for the rest of your life, if I dare say. Now, these are the challenges we have on our hands. It might be a tough call to say everyone should go to driving school, but in the days of Zoom, maybe it's something that can be, you know, considered. As you said, it's just one day, right?
No, it's actually some hours. It's not up to a day.
I'm just saying. I mean,
it's some hours. It's about one and a half hours.
For you to do that, you have to take leave off work or something.
For a whole day.
But so, do you think really that is something that people should actually consider? Do you think it is something that, you know, should...
I will answer that, but let me just inform you, for the purpose of national affairs, that the issue of level crossing has been reviewed in Nigeria since 2002. And all real developments since 2007, starting with the Abuja rail system and the Lagos Blue Line design, were designed not to have level crossing, because you don't want that human error part of it. And that is why in Lagos, they've started the advert, whatever you call it, that people should be aware that the blue line is going to be electric. You can even see the design of the blue line is already segregated. Coming to the red line, there are 10, or it used to be 10 or 18, but it has been reduced to 10 level crossings on this Lagos Ijoko or the red line corridor. And I'm aware all the 10 have been identified to become grade, so that there will be no need for. You can see the one at where you call it Keja Long, is to prevent people from using the one just after it, so that if you're coming from the Keja Oloro, you can just swing it. There's one going on in a Bute Meta Unyibo. There's one in the Yaba level crossing. The popular one is changing. This particular one too, I understand, has been awarded. And it's supposed to have gone grade. So that is the way, one of the two ways common now to go. It's not that the other ways are archaic if the systems are put in place. But that is the intention for the Lagos. And I know that the federal government is doing some. Now, coming on the training, which is another aspect, because you have the human error, you have technology, you have innovation, you have so many things you could do. But in this particular case, for road safety, I don't think it is too much for all of us to agree to take a driving proficiency evaluation test once in a year. If you are commercial...
Once in a year?
If you are commercial, once in a year is just the minimum.
Okay.
In the US, it is there. In the UK, it is there. If you are not commercial, it may be like important. But there might be a profit with technology in now where you can... There are places you go, prometric exams, JAMB exam centers, where you may not be able to cheat. There may be centers for the CBT team to appraise you. When my driver license in the US expired, and I wasn't able to travel for like a year or two, I went back. Do you know I went through everything all over? I went through the written test, and I went through the road test. All over. They are not doubting whether but if your driver license expired for, have you said you did? I said, I mean, it's not a business to them. Their rule says if you don't renew your driver license after 12 months, you have to go through all the tests again. And when I went through all the tests, believe me, the road test was not also that pleasant. So,
but Dr. Kmefa, here, when you want to renew your driver's license, they do ask you, so they bring out the highway code and they still ask you some questions every time you want to renew.
No, that's adequate. Don't let us think it is that bad. It is adequate if it is just the written test that you are given. What we are saying is...
It's an oral test, actually.
Whichever form. You have done the basic test, you have passed. So as you grow in the system, you may not drive for some number of months or years, or your eyes might have dimmed, or your age, your physics. That's why they want to see you to reascertain those things. So the issue is more of the commercial drivers. But the personal drivers, there may be, like I said, there is now technology, how you can take exams. We have improved on that. It will not be too much considering what we are seeing. But on this particular accident, let me say, I'm also aware that the National Safety Board has kicked in. They are moved in already. I'm privileged to know. And this might be the first assignment they will have after the law was passed. And it's an opportunity for Nigeria to start setting. In that, my paper, I raised a lot of issues. We need to set a national transportation safety policy that will outline all the modes of transportation, the minimum safety standard. We need to have an agency to manage it. Good enough, that agency currently has been passed into law. The next thing we now need to do is to set up the processes, and we need to speed up the federating units. When it comes to safety, that's why they escalate it to national level. They don't leave safety to state level.
It's interesting.
So there are things, that committee, that investigation is going to throw up a lot of issues. And on this railway, we need to look at the rail track safety audit in view of this particular situation, of all our situations. So whatever that safety board throws up, I think the national government and the state federating unit should take it very soon. Because now Lagos is going to run rail, Abuja is running rail, Kaduna is thinking of running rail, Niger State is thinking of running rail, River State has started and they will soon complete. So these things will come up and it will start becoming a normal way of life. If you look at the statistics worldwide, either in UK or in US, level crossing alone constitute 25% of rail accidents.
You know, when you talk about, when you just mentioned level crossing, the first time you mentioned it, it reminded me of zebra crossings. And someone is sending a message now, so I'm going to ask you, Mr. Adenisi Patrick. Commercial drivers, this is Victor says, commercial drivers should face the greatest punishments for traffic offenses. He said, I stopped at a zebra cross or at the red light, and the Korokwe driver behind will insult the living daylights out of me.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's where we are, and it's as a result of the fact that the cost of breaking the law in Nigeria is very cheap. It's very cheap. You run red lights outside this country. It's not a joke.
Well,
you pay for it.
It's to run a red light. If the camera should catch you, it's 20,000 naira in Lagos.
That's the vehicle that the plate number is readable.
Okay. just before we go, after that container fell off at Ojuelegba a few weeks ago, we discussed it on the program, and we had road safety boss in the studio, and unfortunately, somebody watched, or should I say fortunately, he watched it after the fact, so he could not call in during the program, and he has sent his own thoughts. Ogieva Emokbai says, containers are falling off trucks for the following reasons: disregard for the principles of load safety. The weight of the container is of the utmost importance, and that is why it is important to use the weigh bridges. And then choosing the appropriate vehicle for haulage sometimes is very necessary to use low-bed trucks for heavy containers because they provide more stability for the load. Mr. Okwefa?
It's correct until the last point.
The low bed.
Last point. It doesn't have to be a low bed.
Okay.
Those trucks that picks the containers are adequate, and that's the vehicle. You know, I mentioned about the safety policy regulations. Those are the vehicles.
But they're not harnessed.
No.
They're just put on the trucks.
Let me explain it. You know, if you are not fully deep into something, you don't really get it. I saw one yesterday under the bridge on my way to this accident scene. A trailer carrying container fell under the bridge of that last bridge. And everything fell. When you see a trailer falling or fell with the container hooked to it, that is perfect. That's what should happen. Now, what happens is the losing of center of gravity. That's the point he's trying to make, saying you go on the low bed. Yes. But it's correct to the weight. If the weight is correct and the vehicle equipment is okay, the center of gravity will be maintained during bend. This one was trying to make a bend from Ikeja, Julie Pharmacy side to turn to the airport side, and it fell this way. That means it doesn't mean that he sped. It may not be speeding, but it lost center of gravity. So there is a disconnect between the weight that is being carried and the capacity of the
question you want to ask is whether or not the individual involved even understands, what did you call it now? Center of gravity? Let's not even go there. We understand that we're hoping to bring the Corps Marshal from the Road Safety Commission, Road Safety Corps to the studio next week. Hopefully we'll be able to. One of the things that I would love for us to be able to take on with him is the road signs. Bring the road signs, show people...
Or the lack of them on Lagos roads.
No, let's even see them. Let's let the education
and explain.
On this particular road, I saw
yellow light. What does it mean?
Because I saw road crossing sign and I saw a yield sign approaching from this yield that tells whoever is driving along that road that there's a real track ahead of you, and yield says yield for whoever is.
So the train has right of way.
Yeah, the train has right of way. The sign in question. My question will be that is it the right size? Because signs also have sizes.
Here we go.
And does the Danfo driver know the meaning of yield?
He knows.
He does?
Yes, they know. Okay. When they see the shape.
They know.
They see the shape. That's why it's graphics. Beyond you reading yield, there's a red line there. They know. So the graphics has told them what they can do and what they can't do.
Okay. Well, this road safety matter, we will try to reduce the numbers from 30, what did you call it?
39,000.
39,000.
To the barest minimum. Keep it as low as possible if it is possible to eradicate. We have to thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of our conversation this morning. Patrick Adonisi is a road safety expert. Thank you so much for your time this morning, as well as Dr. Kaudi Okwefa, Executive Director, Center for Sustainable Mobility and Access Development. We appreciate your time and your expertise this morning.
Thank you.
So, that's concerning moving your vehicle. How about moving your body? That's up when we return from this break.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, I need a room to rent in your house.
Okay, where do you work?
I'm a nurse.
That means you won't owe me rent. Congratulations, young lady. You have yourself a house.
Well, thank you so much, sir. So, how much is the rent?
90,000 naira. Oh, but wait, where are you from?
I am from Akamata.
Akamata what? Akamata in my house? If you know how you got into my house, please get out right away. My spirit and that of Akamata people don't have anything to do together.
Sir, what have I done?
Your people from Akamata are known for bad things. That is what they represent, and you can't live in my house. Just get out right away.
What's going on?
Leave my house, young lady. Yes, our differences extend to our languages, culture, food, and even belief. But we are bound together by the cord of love. With one heart, with one voice, we will make Nigeria a hub of greatness, a place where the people live as one.
This message is brought to you from the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
What is really happening in Akamata market? It seems these people don't want the election to hold.
I hope you broadcast it. The world must hear.
No. Is that how you people share sensitive news like that without verifying it? If I may ask, which news platform published the news?
Jojo sent it.
Jojo? Is that not the same Jojo that posted a fake election result the last time that almost caused a riot?
You know they forget something.
No. In this election season and after, one must be very careful. Or do you want to set the country on fire?
Haba.
Fake news is a threat to a free and fair election and to peace and security. So, before you share any news, check to be sure the source is credible. Check if there are supporting credible sources. Read beyond the headlines. Check the author. Check the date. Check your biases. Ask an expert or send to a fact-checking organization for confirmation. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
Me, I'm not afraid of that man.
Me too.
What can you really do?
I hope you people are discussing about paying me my rent.
Oga landlord, calm down. We are discussing about the upcoming elections.
Nonsense. Don't tell me to calm down. Your mates are at the Akamata Community Square selling their votes for 5,000 naira. But you are here doing what I don't know.
Oga landlord, do you know that 5,000 naira spread over the next 4 years is just 4 naira per day? Is this what we should sell our votes for? God forbid.
Oga landlord, wise up. We must vote in the right people this time, instead of selling our votes to people who have nothing good to offer our community.
That one is your business. You ladies better go and collect yours, if that will help you gather my rent at the end of the month.
Do not listen to people like this landlord. Election is not a business venture. It is your civic duty to your country to help elect the right leaders who will create a better life for you and a great future for your children. Do not sell your future. Do not sell your vote. This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the MacArthur Foundation.
From the Lord, they know they see her for market. A good woman is a blessing from above. Her type will not there for market. I tell you more, Yaku. One year batrako bisa seva. Yanu more, those Yaku. One year batrako those Yakumo. Always loving everybody, no discrimination. What I did, man, no competition. Come and see blessings of the Lord. Everyone Yamaka, blessings in Akachubia. Everyone Yamaka, only blessings in Akachubia. A good woman no come from the Lord. Is a blessing from above.
Okay, so here we go. We are looking at, we've talked about moving cars.
Now we're going to talk about moving bodies. As in, no, not, I mean, moving your body. Not moving bodies, moving your body. Sometimes the struggle is real. You make up your mind that you want to get into an exercise regime. Okay.
New Year resolution.
I want to keep fit.
I want to lose weight.
I want to lose weight.
I want to lose this belly fat.
So I must do exercise. Okay, I will start tomorrow. Tomorrow comes. I better left matter.
I was a little tired yesterday.
I will start tomorrow. And and that is how
until
the good intentions.
Until the 364th day. From next year.
I will make the resolution again day after tomorrow. And I'm sure this scenario is familiar to a lot of people because it has happened to them before. So you do have the intention. Don't forget that the road to heaven is paved with good intentions. The intention is there, but you haven't quite got to it yet. So we decided to ask the experts, how exactly do you decide to get into an exercise regime and actually get into it?
And make it a habit.
Joel Zamere is with us. Good morning. Remember him? Yes, that guy who told us that it's not about just counting your steps. Look at him. He's here again. Me, I'm counting my steps. He says, no, cardio has to be there. You have to sweat. Your heart has to know that you're doing the exercise.
Yes.
Well, he's here.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah, right.
Great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, man.
And welcome.
Since there is a lot of beef this morning.
Beef, fool. I count my steps, but I don't sweat. Then I remember his face comes into my mind, and I said, if I catch that boy. I do 10,000 walking around, cooking, and all that, doing housework.
Wow, please.
And I remember him.
Come on. So 300 calories.
Oh, that's 300 calories.
Yeah.
10,000.
Yes.
Then I eat a bar of chocolate.
That's
900 calories.
but there are other benefits. Bone density, moving your muscles. That is good. It has its benefit, but not weight loss.
And that's a feel good. That's feel good for you.
Yeah.
Right on, baby.
Even if all you scored was 50%, is good.
It's pass.
Joel.
Yes.
The scenario she painted at the beginning is people who want to do it. They know there is a need to do it. But the challenge is time. I leave home in the morning. I'm coming back home and left home at about 5:36.
Sometimes it's not just time. It is just the getting to do it.
At least let's even start with time.
The excuses.
And the very genuine reasons given.
Yeah,
I live at Iyanokwaja. I work at Aja.
I have to leave home at
4:30 in the morning, get to the office around 8, 9, leave the office around 5, get home at about 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Where I go take exercise?
Fantastic question. So the way I'll answer this is to first say, Channels is a global TV organization. So it's Lagosians that have this problem, this particular problem.
You're right.
And as someone has said to me, we all live in different environments. And so
Lagosians and New Yorkers.
Well, true. And the reason I'm saying that is because you have some people living in areas where they don't go through this kind of traffic.
Yeah.
Correct.
And what they do is they just live their lives. And you look at people, for instance, in the north, who have to walk maybe long distance to get water. You look at people who have to walk long distance to go to the market. And so they have some activity that they are doing that is helping them with their lifestyle. Whether they know it or not, they are constantly moving. They are constantly lifting things. They are constantly doing that. That's all they do. And you have it in different aspects. You go to the east, for instance, you find people that they easily farm, so you see them, they are enjoying themselves in the farm, bending to pick the cassavas and moving, and so they are active. What we need to do, we who have this 5 to 9 is what they call it. We who have that kind of hour is that we need to then modify our workouts. And that is why exercise has different modes. I know this word is popular, high-intensity interval training. It's called HIIT. Now, that is popular, but what should be popular is high-intensity training. or high intensity exercise. So in exercise, we have 3 ways you can exercise. You can do what we call low intensity exercise. But when you do that exercise, you must do it for a long duration.
Okay.
Okay?
Sorry, before you go into that, my apologies, Alera.
Yes.
Before you go into all of that, she said something.
Yes.
And I think we should give it credence.
Okay.
She said, it's not just the desire to do it, not just the intention to do it, but to actually get off your butt and do it.
Yes.
That's the challenge many people have.
Yes.
There are those who think the only way I can do this is if I enroll in a gym. Now, that intent is a good intention. Paved in, what did you call it? Good intentions paved
the road to heaven.
You know, they're just intentions and that is it.
Yeah.
But to make up the time and to actually get up and do it,
yes,
that's the challenge.
Yes, and you're very correct. And that is why some of the advocacy we are doing now, we are asking Nigerians to move. People need to move. They need to...
We move.
Yes. We move. They need to move. And that is why it is important that the minute you can move, the minute you can ensure that you are moving, then you are fine. And I think most of the time, people think they have to do so much in order to achieve their goals. They are looking at the other person and they are saying, I need to do this much for me to actually achieve my goal.
Okay, so when you say move,
yes,
what kind of moving or movement are you referring to?
Yes, so, and that's where it gets tricky. There are different kinds of movements. And so for you to know what movement and how you ought to move, you need to be assessed by a professional. You need someone to assess you and say, okay, this is how you should move.
But this is the kind of exercise
This is the kind of exercise you should do. You work in a bank, you don't have time. This is the kind of exercise you should do based on your assessment, based on your physical structure, based on your lifestyle, based on your health history, based on whatever conditions that you have. This is how you need to move. Now, what happens most times is that we are looking at somebody to move. And in between, we are frustrated because that is not
who we are.
And so we get frustrated and then we lose interest.
Okay. Take the example of somebody who has been an athlete all their life.
Fantastic.
They've always exercised.
Yes.
But they think that because they're getting old now, they're aging, that they don't move like they used to.
Yes.
What kind of moving should they be doing?
Thank you for that question. Now, first of all, we keep advocating to the gyms. I'm going to get to you that they must have programs like this where they have modified exercises for people that are older. Okay? Now, having said that, still, even though you've given me a demography of people, there are still peculiarities to who you are that will determine what workout you should do.
Okay.
But let me just speak off the call.
No, she doesn't want to work out. She only wants to just do exercise to keep fit. That's all.
Yes, so it's semantics. Workout.
No, she doesn't want to go to the gym. No,
it's fine. So see, this is not even as we are organizing a free workout for people that we're calling We Move. The idea behind that is so that people can know that they can move, whether in the gym or outside the gym. Getting fit, you necessarily don't need to be inside the gym, but you need a fitness expert to tell you how to move. Because what will happen is that you will lose interest. Let me give you a classical example of what I'm saying. Now, let's assume we want to achieve 1,000 calories. We want to burn 1,000 calories.
That's a lot.
Yeah, let me just an example. Just as an example. Okay, let's do 500 calories. Is that fine? So let's say you want to do 500 calories. And you can achieve it in 3 ways. The first way you can achieve it is what I was explaining, long duration.
Okay.
So you never walk and just walk as though, you're not going somewhere.
I'm strolling.
Yes. So anytime you walk purposefully.
Purposeful walk.
Yes, walk purposefully. Back straight, shoulders up, and walk. And when you do that, for instance, we are religious people. Some of us take prayer walks. Some of us just take some time to walk around. Even in your environment here, if you stand up from time to time, if this program was more than 1 hour, in between the program, I would have insisted that we got up. Okay? So if you do that and you do long duration but low intensity, you can achieve over 500 calories based on your metabolic rate. So if both of you do the same exercise, if 3 of us do the same exercise, 3 of us, if we do the same exercise,
the outcomes will be different.
Exactly. We won't lose the same calories, okay, because we all have different
at the same rate.
Metabolism. But having said that, that is one way you can achieve it. But guess what? You need time.
Which you don't have.
Which we don't have. Okay. It's those in maybe living
even in the rural areas, they don't have time anymore, so don't even go there.
Okay, so you need time. Now the next one is mid intensity. You see that anytime the time changes, the intensity is changing. And that is very important for your body. Because if you don't work out this way, the next day you won't have any motivation to get up. Because you will have done too much. And there's actually something called overtraining.
Oh, really?
Yes. Too much is not enough or good. Neither is too low enough or good. I'll use another example later on. But that is why the mid-intensity, mid-duration is important. That's about 30 to 40 minutes of you now. Now, if we're talking about walking, what will you be doing now? There'll be some light jogging. You see that we have changed the same environment, the same people, but we have changed the workout because we have reduced the time.
Well, someone proposed to me, Joel.
Yeah.
And that is, this says a 15-minute exercise that will give you the value of 1 hour training.
Yeah, I was going to get there. So that's the third one, which is what I was highlighting. That's the high intensity training. So we say high intensity interval training. The reason why we say interval is because in between each exercise is rest period. So when you hear heat exercise or heat workouts, it just means high intensity interval training. So meaning that because it is high intensity, there ought to be rest periods in between each workout because of how the energy system of the body works.
So that's like how many minutes?
So it depends. So I'll recommend that you do 20 minutes and not 15 minutes. Now, guess what? If you have 15 minutes, that's fine. And then, we think that if we do exercises only in the morning, that's when it works. We think that, if I put all my exercises need to be together. Actually, you can pace out your exercises in a day.
Oh, really?
Yes, you can. You can do 10 minutes in the morning of a particular part, maybe your upper body. When you get to work, you do lower body. When you get, and that will be endurance. When you get
after
home,
work,
you can say, I'm going to work around my estate.
You want to give us some demonstration of things that people can get up and do now?
The reason why I even want to do this is especially because of those in the office. So what I want to do is just show basic, we call them compound exercises. There are some exercises that work particular muscles, but what you want to do, especially for those who don't have time, is to ensure that they are doing compound exercises. That way, you're working multiple muscles at the same time to achieve the required results.
So it's something that they can do in their 1 hour breaks at the office.
Fantastic, exactly. That's really it. So when people say they don't have time, I say, do you have lunch? Yeah.
Lunch is not me to eat, man.
I know, but
okay, I want to quickly show us because I think we're running out of time.
Okay, let me show you that. So now one of the things I'm going to explain, which is very important, is form. Now most people, when they do this exercise, they tend.
I think you need. You need space.
I can still be here.
Yeah. No, he can be there. He can be there.
Okay, because the camera will look for him. I'm going to also use this. So one thing they usually will do, which is the first thing I want to explain, that they tend to tuck in their abs. And you see people, most of the time when we're training people, we have to tell them, breathe, breathe. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because it impairs development in your training. So just say, ha, 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 ha. Do you feel that your stomach did not go in? It came out a bit, but it was stiff.
Yeah.
That is the feeling you want to have when you are doing any of these exercises. Don't hold in your stomach. Be in that ha position where you are holding in your core. Because this is a corset, it's a natural corset. It helps your body to ensure that all the exercises you are doing are in form.
Okay.
Now, having said that, a couple of exercises that you can do in the office is ensure that you have like a study chair. Okay. So I'll advise that don't use the chairs that roll around. Use the one that maybe you give to those who come and visit you. Because when you do that, it's a safety hazard. Okay. If it moves forward, then you will trip.
Yeah.
So you can start by an inclined push-up, for instance. Okay. Why is inclined push-up good? It is not difficult to do. Okay? But what you want to watch is ensure that your hands are underneath your shoulders.
Okay.
Because the prime mover for this exercise, for instance, now this is a bit elevated.
Okay.
If you can come to a level like this, that would be good. But for demonstration purposes, I'll just use it. Okay? Your hands should be underneath your shoulders. And then just press down and up. Your shoes are the same shoes.
Can a 70-year-old do that?
Big time. Please.
Don't look at me.
Big time. Do you know why? This is your body weight. And guess what? I have not said do 100.
Oh, how many?
Well, I'm coming to that.
5.
So there are 2 ways to do this. Now, let me say this. In every workout, there are 2 ways you can do. You can do it by numbers, which is the repetition, how many times you are doing, or you can do it with time.
Okay.
I always will advocate for time. The reason is, if you say you're going to do this in 30 seconds, the number of exercises you can do in that 30 seconds is fine. So, for instance, if you start and it's 30 seconds and you go 1, 2, and you're tired, if it's not 30 seconds yet, you can actually rest and go back to the workout and continue. Now, when you do that daily, you will actually end up developing yourself, because you will see that today I did 15, and then the next day you are
20.
doing 17, and then you are growing. Now, there are many exercises like this, but this is just an example. You can do this also, what we call dips. This is still the chair, and you're just going down and up, down and up. And what have I done? The 2 examples I just showed you now are compound exercises. You have worked your chest, your shoulders, and your back.
Oh.
Rhomboids, deltoids, pectoralis. You have that's what we worked the first time. And then in doing it this way, I've targeted the last muscle that maybe I didn't target, which was the tricep. Okay, so that's fixing all the upper body.
Oh, really?
Now, if you do this constantly which is why we still need to do an endurance assessment to know how many you can do and where you are. But having said so, if you do this regularly, you will keep your muscles active. Okay, you will keep your joints healthy, which is what you really want to achieve daily. The fitness is not weight loss. Fitness is health, is lifestyle, is being fit enough to do your job. That's really what fitness is.
How about the legs?
Yeah, fantastic. So we can do the same thing. Same chair, same space in your office. You see, we've not gone anywhere. You put the same length there. You can do modified mountain climbers, because mountain climbers usually will be on the floor, but you can easily raise your feet up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, of course, this is very compound, isn't it? Your core is engaged. Your bum or glutes are engaged. Your legs is active.
And the joints?
the joints are busy. They've been busy since we started. Okay? So you technically don't work your joints. Your joints enable mobility. They help you to do the workout. That is why before you do any workout, like I've showed you this too now, but before you do it, you want to just warm up first. Because it is when you warm up that you prepare your muscles, your heart, and your joints for any kind of exercise.
Show us this warm-up thing.
So warm-up is simple. So some warm-up can be, you get up, you know you're going to do that workout, but you take a walk downstairs, or to maybe a 5 minutes walk to and fro. And when you're doing that, you are moving this. Now, anytime you're walking, you will move your knee joints, but you might not move your elbow joint. So you just want to do this. Or you can be in that same position and just walk in one position. So you want to do this for about 5 minutes, because it's not high intensity. If it was a bit high or mid intensity, maybe 2 to 3 minutes will be fine, which is what you see some people do, where they say maybe jog on the spot. But you don't want to take your heart rate so high so quickly.
Because you're at work.
Yes, because you're at work. So just move to in one position and stay there. Now, if you do that, after which you've done that, naturally the body secretes what we call synovial fluids to all the joints in your body, which enables movement. Okay? So when you're done with that, you just do what we call preparatory stretches, and they are dynamic in nature. Don't stay in one position when you want to start a workout. You do dynamic stretches, okay? When you're done with that, you then move to the workout.
Okay.
When you're done with the workout, you then stretch and stay in one position. That's what we call static stretches. And then you're good. Now, see what we've done. We've worked out for 15 minutes in our office, and we can do this every day. Accumulatively, you might do better than someone that struggles goes to the gym twice a week.
Okay, we're running out of time now. In fact, we have run out of time. We have to thank you. But would you recommend for any organization to have spaces like that in the
No, most definitely. There are a couple of organizations that are working with the Institute, especially as we advocate the We Move campaign. A couple of things that people are doing now is that in the work environment, first of all, they are using tables that are adjustable, that can go up and come down. Number two, they are having areas where we call team bonding areas in the office. They are like steps you can climb up and do a couple of activities. And then some who are very serious actually have gyms and qualified fitness trainers in those gyms that do workout plans for them and stuff like that. But it is important that so this is what we are all catching on, and we are serious about our fitness. The minute you're serious about it, you will find someone to help you do it, and you'll be able to achieve your goal.
You know, somebody will be wondering, why are you not sweating? He is in an air-conditioned environment.
Like he is in the gym. Joel Uzamiri, thank you very much for coming and telling us what to do to keep ourselves fit and healthy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sunrise will be right back with the home stretch in just a moment. Having stayed this long, you might as well just stay on till the end.
If no finish, they won't fight us. If them they run, them no fit catch up. I know they form say I too righteous. No con they form say you too like us. Me no get the time for the hate and the bad energy. Got my mind on my money. Make you dance like broccoli. Steady green like broccoli. Steady on my grind, oh yeah, what they want telling me. Could deny my fantasy. They want to check if my tap be no wrong. But it rush well, it be much. Now gotta make my tap be the rush. The kind money we touch. Yeah, it rush well, it be much. To be hype, everybody they crush. There's no darling with us. You never thought you did from papa. Which kind of money we never see before. Cause hello me, come me feeling I'm the one. Ajay. I never take my cake away. Ajay, you can't count my grace. I just did my lane. You no get the time for the hate and the bad energy. Come my mind on my money. Make you dance like broccoli. Steady green like broccoli. Steady on my grind. If my dad be no wrong, but it rush well, it be much. Now gotta make my dad be the rush. The kind of money we touch, yeah. It rush well, it be much. To be hype, everybody they crush. There's no darling with us. It rush well, it be much. Now gotta make my dad be the rush. The kind of money we touch.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, you can see those legs. They are the legs of our guest, whom you will meet shortly. He's had 3.5 decades, yes, that's 35 years, working as an instrumentalist, a drummer, music director, band manager, project coordinator, drum instructor with and for local and international artists like Field Risk Call, Shaka Shaka, Lionel Patterson, Kelvin Bond, T-Mac, Johnny Brown, Logan Smith, Ron Kinole, Onyeka Onwenu, Christiana Igbokwe, Steve Rhodes, Gerald Pino, you said that? Geraldo Pino, Mike Okri, Blackie, Alexo, Sonny Neji, Alexito, Sami Okpozo, ETC. Please welcome.
The question is With whom has he not worked?
Raymond Jehovi, popularly known as Papa Ray.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
I really appreciate this opportunity that you guys have given to me to see and to also talk to people.
You know, I told you that there is a minority tribe in music.
Madam Bidis.
Madam Bidis.
You started again.
First of all, how does it feel? You literally create the groove that people, you know, enjoy in live music. How does it feel to achieve that and to not look for recognition?
Wow. That's a Christian question. It wasn't easy anyway. From where I came from, my background was really rough, you know. I started from the church, you understand, precisely Church of God Mission, Archbishop of the Hausa.
Whoa.
These are,
Benin.
yes, these are fathers when it comes to Pentecostal movement in Nigeria. So I started from there, and it got to the point where he was international. So anytime he travels, he comes back, and it did not that he didn't like Nigerian music, you understand, but because he was international, he would always bring the cassette. At that time, there was nothing like a CD. He would always bring the cassette and the cartridges. We will watch overnight. You must produce this song as it is.
Wow.
On Sunday morning. And this is a man who, we have already rehearsed one, our own local one. He just came and said, no, it's not acceptable. He will give you the one that he brought for wherever, maybe Australia, America, UK, or wherever. He will bring them and say, this is what I want the next day, with the chicken, the rice, and everything flowing with it, because you know that this is work. He will give you, and the guy will make you work. So with that, but
make you happy while you're doing the
he will make you happy while you're doing the work, because the methods are there, you understand, for you to flow. So the thing is flowing, you understand. The guy really encouraged us, and he didn't fall below zero. The guy will not accept it when you fall below zero. Zero was like, how do I put it now? Zero was like the benchmark. He was not looking for you. He was not looking for one. Now he wasn't looking for two. He just made that zero like an equilibrium. Yes. Say, I want you to produce it like this. Now, if you bring a cassette or whatever, a CD for me, and you put it at neutral level, we call it zero. This is when you begin to add the effects and all that now. You say you're changing it to one or whatever, you're increasing the number. It's always flat rate, and flat rate is zero. The guy wants you to give him that flat rate the way he brought it from abroad. We will rehearse. And me, I was just an instrumentalist. I just finished my secondary education, you understand, waiting to get into higher institution, nothing to do with my life at that time. You know, it's not now. You can, it's shortcut for you to go and write WAEC, shortcut for you to write JAMB, and you pass and you go. Then you will have to write it, you have to read it, and you have to pass it. It was straight. There was no short corners to it. So at that short time in my life, I was rehearsing like mad. I needed to meet that. My eyes were always on him when I'm playing on Sunday morning in church.
Just to be sure whether he's
Just to be sure. I understand. So we got it right from that foundation. But I got to this stage in my life where I just needed to change. I just needed to go to the next level in my life, because I've seen it all in Benin. I was the highest drummer in Benin, highest paid as a secondary school leaver. You know, I was like the highest paid person in Benin. And this thing was in Lagos. Lagos was the main thing at that time. You have not gotten to, yes, you have not gotten to Lagos. I mean, you are still on that. You know, you never happen. You are still below zero. You understand? So something pushed me out of that place. So the competition was so high there. I just needed to come to Lagos. So I came to Lagos. That's where I now met the masters. I met people like Steve Lack, a crazy drummer. He used to hold his stick one kind like this and produce the sound that I've never heard before. I met Remy Kabaka. I met Tony Allen. I met Mambo Stitch, who was playing for Majek at that time. You understand? So I met all these guys, and I found out that I was just scratching.
But you were below zero.
I was just, yes, I was below zero. The same being who was being celebrated in Benin as the highest. So when I came,
you say you never start.
I never start, madam. I never start. But then, just like you said, how did you get there? You know, I saw all this, and when I was now looking at them, at that time I had the opportunity to meet Chris Okotie at that time, just produce this album, Something Get Out of My Life, Something Get Out of My Life. So he just produced that album at that time. So I was very, very close to Kusukuti because a friend of mine was actually working with him that time in his church. I was close to him. So that gave me an opportunity to see all those guys I didn't have opportunity to meet because Steve Black was his friend, Tony Allen was his friend, because the guy was the secular scene. I just came from church. You understand? And I came to meet lions in the midst of shark. What will they go to be doing around there? But I wanted to be like the lions. So I started mingling with them.
And in those days, they played live.
What are you telling me?
No.
There is nothing like computer drumming and all that. Like you have to produce it live. If not be live, nobody accepts it like that. So I now had opportunity to meet with these guys, and I look for their houses. Mambo Stitch will tell me that I should come in the morning. I'll go to Mambo Stitch. He will be inside his house with his girlfriend. Guess what he will tell me to do? Mambo Stitch will put 2 sticks in my hand. He said I should go to back of his house. I'm going to be hitting the wall. I was cracking wall with drumsticks, playing live. If my sound reduced, it will hit the wall like this.
I'm not here.
Hey. What are you? Do you think you came to play here? I'll be sweating there like mad. If you come and see me, you think that they just poured the bucket water on me because I couldn't stop even when my hands were blistered. And I kept doing that. When I finished that, he would go and bucket of jeans that guy had soaked. I'll go and wash all of them. Go and hang them and dry them.
To strengthen your hands.
Yes. I will go home. I will come and repeat the same thing like this. I paid the sacrifice. After a while, all the things that they told me to do, I went back home. I was rehearsing like mad. I would sit back and carry their drumstick, carry their whatever, and follow them and go and stay at the venue when they used to play. You know the big boys now. You know the way they used to behave. You understand? If not be them, nobody else. Because the truth about it that there was nobody else around that time. So I was following these guys. And then I got to this point where my eyes now went out of the Nigerian scene. I saw what they were doing. There was this kind of drumming in Nigeria that I still was not satisfied because when I watched Fidrisco and I see people like, what's his name again? Gary Coma, I see people like Rod Morgenstern. I was hearing this drumming from outside and what we were doing here. Oh boy, not like this now. You understand? So I took what they were doing and I stopped going to them. I started buying. It's not now that you can just go to the internet and everything will just come to you at a stretch. You have to go and look for the CDs. I went to the market and started looking for all these cartridges and videos at that time. I didn't go to anybody again. I was just watching this thing because I wanted to bring something new to the table. I was just watching and I will just simulate, as English we call it, simulate what I see and just try to do it like that because there was no music book for me to start reading and start playing. Wow. So I just took it like that and I started playing and I introduced the double pedal for bass drum that nobody was playing at that time because I saw the white man doing it. You understand? I went to go and do the local one, you understand? And I added it to my, after I had the opportunity when Shegun bought drums that had double bass drum. So I was already preparing for it when the thing wasn't there. So when I brought this thing new to the table, by the grace of God, I respect this master soul because they had something that nobody had. But God gave me the grace that I now changed the whole drumming system. And I brought the new drumming, that thing that we were seeing outside. Now let the white man fit drum. You know, so I started behaving like that. When I came out, I didn't want to look like the Nigerian people, and I grew heavy jerry chords, long that even
with them.
So I did. So I wanted to be like them. My dressing changed. When you see me, the Nigerian musician that saw me, that I never thought that this man was a Nigerian
guy,
and I didn't even rapport with them. Because I wanted to actually behave like this guy. If I don't begin to talk like the Nigerian with you, they behave like that with you. You not look at that drumming. You not come and that thing. I was bringing something new to the table. I was very fresh that nobody had. So I brought it like that, and I started dressing like them. You understand? I will wear all my tracksuit, wear the 3 choke 1, choke 2 necklaces on my neck with all the band, with my hair, this thing on my with that, with the perfume and all that. You understand? My life was just filled with beauty at that time. And this man could drum. So I brought the contemporary drumming to that system, and I was the only person who had it. This same Steve Black, whom I was going to his house, wonderful guy. When we started all the Rothman store, because I was backing all the artists at that time,
Wow.
There was no phone call. I would sit down in my house like they would send somebody to come and meet me where I am. This is our day too. We are in Jos and so date and so date. We are in Kaduna. We are this. So I was on Rothman's store. I was on Benson and Henry store. I was Coca-Cola store. I was on was this one again. So it was like that.
The guy was hot.
But I was really hot. I was really hot. So with that, you know when you get to that apex, you now look down. Nobody me go chop alone. All the boys just started following me. That Nigerian drumming just died. So there was no space for them again because I brought this new on the table. And there was a boys around me at that time who wanted to, maybe we want it like this. This is how drumming should sound. So all of them just flock around me. And by the grace of God, I suffered to get it. I can boast before man and before God who is with us right now that I never collected one dime. Because it was joy for me to give it to the people. I was rehearsing like mad. It's not that you set time for yourself. The way I rehearse though. And that's what I tell my students. I say, I rehearse 12 hours a day. And I set time like that. You will never meet to that appointment. Why? Because you don't know what tomorrow holds. It was just a lifestyle for me. I'm sitting down, I see the drumstick, I pick and just rehearse. I see something new. So it was like a lifestyle for me. So I didn't have time. So if you ask me how many times you rehearse a day, I'll tell you, I don't know. It was just my kind of lifestyle. So I introduced that to the boys. And I opened a own drum school for myself, which is called Freestyle School of Drumming. Come as you are. Everybody in the church, all the drummers in the church, all of them just gathered themselves and we just packed to my house.
Yeah.
My wife, may God bless that woman. I married the woman that understood my ministry. Because like 35 people in one small apartment every Thursday and every Tuesday. This woman will come back from work and go and sit in her friend's house. The same compound, we go and sit in her friend's house and wait from 2 o'clock till like 6 o'clock in the evening when I finish with these boys. Who were not giving me anything. I was just pouring out myself like that. Before I knew what was happening. In different churches, different artists, they were my boys that just filled everywhere. That's how they started living.
Anyway, you know,
they're all over the world.
We could go on and on.
Trained drummers.
I trained drummers. The ones you see in the scene, I said I trained them, or I trained somebody who trained them, or that one trained the other one that did not train the other one.
So
like
you
that.
are now her grandfather.
They see when they call me Papari, I didn't give myself that name. Papari, Edare, Fadare, Grandfadare. You understand? It was because of...
You played with all these local and international artists.
Yeah, man.
Big names.
I'm just wondering, first of all, how did you connect with each one of them? Or is there a central pole that say, okay, just once you, that's the guy to go to?
There is nothing like central pole. When Connolly came to Nigeria, he brought they will bring the songs. Who can play this thing now? Where I am sitting, they will come and call me.
Okay.
Okay, don't worry about it. We know one person that will meet up with this thing. And sometimes when they come, it's just like 3 days to the crusade or 3 days to the show. Who can meet up this thing? I've already trained myself for that. So they'll just bring the cassette or whatever, the CD, they come and give me and expect me to vomit it at the rehearsal. They get the result more than what they expect. Because after I finish the album, I will bring Ray into the album. You understand? So they are saying something new. That is why every artist that I've played in the past, if I finally leave that place and somebody else come and play it, the artist is never satisfied. They will still come and call me. I'm not there again. I'll go to rehearsal, go and guide the guy. And the only thing I will just tell the guy, look, I played Ray in the album. So if you are playing that album and you are looking for Ray in that album, you will not see Ray in that album. Play exactly what's in the album and introduce yourself. And I'll go and educate the artist. I'm not there again. So the way I react and the way I react to spontaneously to things, not the way this man. Look at my face and this man. Are we the same? We are not the same, so you don't expect us to produce the same result. Is the guy playing the album? He's playing the album, he's not playing like you. I say, fine, cannot play it.
Let me challenge you with this because we are running out of time. I don't know, you're just enjoying this too.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
So music has moved from what we will call analog to what we have now.
Digital.
How do you feel about that?
The world has moved. In those days, when you want to call America, you go to CMS, where you can pay phone, pay phone, and you will wait for it to get to your turn before you call. When you want to write a letter, after like 3 months before the letter will get to where it is going, that is when it was still analog. Because the flight will have to carry it from here You understand? They'll gather it to not only your own, until when the box is full, before the flight will move. Before will not get to America, go and look for wherever. Before the person will not reply you. It takes like, if somebody is sick in the house and you're doing that, only for you to pass the message to the person, we have already buried the person. So life has moved. It's the same thing. In the same thing, everything you're looking for right now is on the internet. You just sent the address to me, so and so place. I was calling you to just tell you that I was in Beggar, you understand? Okay, Opik, I'm going to drive from Opik. That's what I wanted to find out. Not that I didn't know. That's what the age has told us, you understand? So, likewise, the same it is. Every part of life, everything has moved. In the church, everything has moved. The pastors wear this thing that you wear now.
Okay. Yeah, but are you concerned about how, I mean, for instance, church or even in the secular world, some people treat musicians? Who are the ones, anyway, that are like the bedrock of whatever music that they have that becomes famous?
It's a shame they still do not recognize the role of music in the universe. In the presence of the Almighty God.
I think everyone appreciates
in the presence of the Almighty God. That's why he told us, if you stop to praise me, I will raise up stones to praise me. Because that's what makes him God. A king is not king if there's nobody telling him, Oba, talk, he said. You are king to yourself. Now that is the role, that's the role musicians play. They want to advertise Maggi Cube. You hear them play music. The Coca-Cola, Coke. So everything, toothpaste, they use everything is music. So to tell you that music is life. But the musicians themselves do not recognize this. So they themselves don't know how to arrange themselves for the people to appreciate them. Because they come and they behave like, my wife would say, they behave like a bat. A rich man's son, if he doesn't make himself that, the way you talk to people, your poised, your articulations, how you write to people will tell me whether you are a rich man. But if you just come, you behave like a poor man, of course I will treat you like a poor man. Unless somebody tells me from the other side, hey, you are talking to Otumba's son. If I will not come and be Dobale for you. Because you didn't prove to me that you're Otumba's son. See, when Jesus came, he came like what? A lamb. You understand? But when he died, when Apostle John saw him, what did he see? Everybody who saw me fell down and died because he came for a particular thing. But after his death, when he went back to his original position, even the disciples knew what he was. They were calling him outside, but the disciples called him master because they saw lordship. Yes, they saw mastery. They saw lordship.
So essentially, you are saying that the musicians
themselves they do not have this. And that's what I train myself, and I train everybody around me. A friend of mine went yesterday for an audition, you understand, and came back. Just what he said, they just gave him the job. Not that he could play whatever. What he said, and he said, oh, this I'm going to do my job. How are you going to keep your duty? He answered them, okay, this is your snare drum. Okay, what will happen to the snare drum when... He gave the definition of the snare drum first. You understand? Which one is a natural snare drum? Which one is a semi-professional? Which one is professional? First of all, he enlightened the man who brought the snare drum that didn't know that. So... only this snare drum now you know like this.
So you must know that.
What they tell you must. So you understand because he was able to put
you're gonna have to come back some other time because we are completely run out of time.
Thank you, Ayo.
This is really interesting.
Thank you.
Alero, you haven't said anything.
Well, I'm just listening and enjoying all that, and you know the enthusiasm and the zeal with which he's talking about it. You can see that he's someone who loves what he does.
Well, I've known Ray for a bit, and I can tell you there is a particular drum pattern that Ray played. I've not heard it played before. This is 16 by, what did you call it?
16 by 17. Whatever it was, 17, actually 17 by 16.
You know, there's this Meta Loreo that you see. He played that thing. Is this the drum for this song? Senaimo. Finish.
Anyway,
thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. I really appreciate
you.
this opportunity.
So that rounds up Sunrise for today. Well, I won't be here next week. It's election Saturday, but I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And until then, be good and don't forget to go out and vote.
That's hopefully
and obey traffic rules.
Yes, please, very important.
Thank you.
Hoping there will be no postponement again. Thank you so much for watching our program. I'm Ayo Makinde. Be good. God bless Nigeria.
See ya.
Millions of people living together in one community, working together in the same trade. We go into their midst, find out how they live and work.
Oh my goodness, food business is not an easy business. I spent more than 35 years for this community.
We tell these stories and how they survive in this economy. Community Report, we tell your story.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous. It's a sign of the times. A reflection of conversations from the streets to the halls
Interesting collection you have here. Thank you.
that get to the walls. If they could talk, see and hear the limitless creative.
So I think the moral of it is that when you make a vow, you must ensure that you fulfill it.
On Art House. From the north to the south, east and west, Network Africa brings you news stories from all around the continent, with wide-ranging coverage, insights, and analysis of special issues. We dissect Africa in its beauty and peculiarities. Network Africa tells the African story from the African perspective. Network Africa, weekdays at 4 p.m.